Chapter 1. Rubber City. Don slouches back on his beloved emerald green armchair, slurping his third can of Red Stripe in his council house's living room. On the telly, Ian Blackford erupts in a wily fit of rage, adamant that slimy old Boris Johnson has repeatedly misled the House of Commons. He demands the Prime Minister's immediate resignation. Deemed guilty of grossly disorderly conduct, he's ejected by the House Speaker Lindsay Hoyle, who does so while fighting back the tears in a historic Prime Minister's questions moment. Not that the cynical, non-voting, apolitical Don is moved in the slightest by the Scottish National Party leader's plight. He rapidly snaps himself out of the daze, utterly petrified of being caught off guard in a moment of pitiful self-loathing.
Food's nearly ready.
Don's wife, Sigrid, shouts from the back room, without so much as a glance to ensure the accuracy of her statement. Don scowls and rubs his dark, wavy, curtained hair.
Oh, it's not though, is it? Slug at the wheel.
Tired of squandering between 10 and 20 daily minutes of precious leisure time languishing at the table waiting, Don doesn't fall for the bait and switches over to BBC One Wales. A news piece plays on the local food bank, where a bustling queue bellows out of Bangor's Gothic cathedral. Seldom do they do anything in Bangor, and Don's patriotic pride has him firmly on the edge of his seat.
Tragedy actually is a more fitting word. There's so many in a traditional, proud area, full of grafters who've dedicated their existence to pay taxes into a government we still have to be reliant on for the basics of life. Anyone with half a noggin won't be bringing children into this.
An out-and-out North Walian old man Gwyndav passionately declares in a TV interview. Don nods, failing for a second to link his staunch social media-wide support of reducing the universal credit allowance and the consequential reality of old Gwindav's austerity. A sudden empathetic outrage surges within him, but so alien is such compassion that he brushes it off, unable to identify with the uncomfortable phenomenon. Suddenly, Don spots his stepson Chrissy Bray's distinct, long, thick black shaved sides mullet hair blowing lightly in the wind behind the interview. A gaunt, denim dungaree-wearing old man Hoel stands nattering alongside him, squinting his eyes as Chrissy's thin, black leather jacket beams the piercing sun's light into his alcohol and tobacco-induced wrinkly face.
No way! It's Chrissy!
Sigrid hurtles over with a grin as mischievous as the vast array of colours on her treasured dress. As she cottons on to the location of her eldest son's accidental TV appearance, her glee rapidly evaporates.
Dickhead! What's he doing there, man?
Don's buzz haircut, 9-year-old son Gav scampers over with a smirk as smug as his entitled personality. Wanting in on the family glee, Chrissy's darkly dressed, 12-year-old half-brother Sid trudges over. Before catching a sneaky glimpse of the big screen from a safe distance, Don swivels around and glares at him.
That stir-fries Rubber City again, and you're paying for the takeaway. And it will not be a stingy one.
Sid rustles his blonde-streaked dark hair before huffing his way back towards the kitchen.
Look at matey there.
Don points at Hoel's eccentric outfit with a censorious grimace.
A proper weirdo,
Gav remarks.
What's he fucking doing with him? Maybe he's a gay boy now, yeah, Dad? Might be onto something there, Gav.
He is not.
Ban it like that. You just never know.
With respect, I think I'd know that about my own son.
No longer asks you for dough, though, does he? Don't do fuck all that we know for it. Blokes like that, they'll give him, I reckon, quarter of their food bank for a blowy, half of it full works, whole shebang for an overnighter.
Sigrid furiously storms out of the room. Don cups his head, horrified to see Hoel presents his farmer's cap to Chrissy.
Look, hat the lot. At least we know where you get it from now, Sid. Mystery solved.
Don slowly turns away with a brimming, wry smirk. No sooner as he does, Sid quietly spits in the duck noodle stir-fry he's making over the hob. At the food bank, Chrissy stood in front of Hoel, whose farmer's cap has now been outstretched and presented for an awkward minute.
Who keeps a tenner in their cap?
Chrissy bluntly asks.
Gonna leave me stood here like a prick or what?
Chrissy picks a 2.5 gram bag of low-grade hash out from his thigh-length, black leather jacket's inside pocket and carefully places the hash in Hoel's hat.
Arkloy. None of the old school subtlety these days, there.
Hoel sternly gazes over at the BBC cameras and interviewee. Chrissy blushes and darts off in a flash, which is just as well. with being precisely 11 minutes late for the next stop. A shortcut's the only option to avoid a barrage of missed calls that will drain his precarious iPhone 5 battery and scup a potential business. As he stumbles down the rough, boggy Bangor mountain path, skinny, ginger-haired Bangor tick merchant Nebo tensely awaits, beckoning Chrissy down. An almighty 5-crate deep 2-borg sesh with tearaway locals half his age has proven far from the stimulation required to endure the last 16 painful minutes. In true Nebo fashion, he exploits this perfect opportunity to test Chrissy's tickometer. Despite asking for 2, his orders bumped up from a half to a full gram. Just enough to keep a buzz flowing until evening, should he stay stingy with the line servings. Unable to suppress his unequivocal relief, Nebo manically pulls Chrissy into a cold, sweaty hug as the cocaine's handed over. Chrissy leaps over a cheap wooden garden fence, partially bending it in the process, and stumbles into Don's scabby, drought-induced patchy garden. After narrowly avoiding a flattener in the mud, he pops his head through the back door, where his mother, Sigrid's folding up towels with an Andy Weatherall acid house mix blaring. Startled by his abrupt entrance, she jolts up as he mischievously sneaks up from behind.
There's a bloody front door for a reason.
Don't let anyone open it past 4 though, does he?
Sigrid huffs and turns back to folding towels.
On the big screens then you were?
Chrissy convincingly feigns an open-mouthed expression of ignorance.
Where was that?
Out front of the food bank, no less. Never think, do you, how it looks for me? Can't even feed my own son. Fucking food bank.
One-time thing.
Bit of discretion next time, okay?
Being the gossip of Rachib sparked her irrationally heightened sensitivity to the opinions of others. Way back in the days when Chrissy's punk rock father had a knack for buying copious amounts of speed, instead of providing the basics for Sigrid and a then toddler-age Chrissy.
Sid in there?
Yeah.
Sigrid aggressively folds up a towel.
And you're having some of that duck stir-fry he's whipping up.
Sid's gloomy face lights up in an instant as his beloved half-brother, and for better or worse, role model, Don and Gav hardly notice, with both inseparably glued to Channel 4's 6 o'clock news. Chrissy sticks his finger on his mouth, presents a hefty pre-rolled half-gram joint, and hands it to a discreetly euphoric Sid, something that will enhance Sid's status within his emo-punk group of friends, to no end. A heartfelt news report plays from a care home, where a 90-year-old woman embraces relatives through a plastic COVID-enforced screen after 18 long months without visits. Chrissy scoffs at Don and Gav's pathetic fascination.
You every time you jar that.
Don swivels back his head and grins.
Look who it is. Inclination for the ancient.
Don sniggers, shakes his head, and fixates back on the news. Gav holds his snidey gaze at Chrissy. He pulls a deliberately hideous face back before turning to Sid.
Any upcoming gigs then, or what?
Sid slumps his shoulders and frowns.
Nah. Cops are well onto the club now. Clocked our youth. Ah, bastards. We were getting a few pints. The odd cigar. Couple of shots here and there in exchange for our electrifying performances. So, now we're thinking of moving them outside.
Chrissy vigorously nods.
3-day metal fest. Top of Dinodwig Mountain. Camping, birds, fuck licenses, age, ethics, the lot of it. Brahma, I say. We're doing it. Tell all the decent bands you know.
Sigrid bursts in with a pile of towels and a vicious scowl.
Nothing band-related for this one.
Gotta let him do what he loves.
Sigrid mockingly scoffs, heads over to the stir-fry and sighs. She turns down the heat, a pedantically minuscule amount, that will have no effect on the cooking, and brushly stirs the mixture.
If only for the minor matter of being expelled.
Chrissy looks at Sid and desperately tries to hold in a brewing hysterical laughing fit, successfully limiting it to a chuckle.
Second school this year. Second Bray to have tarnished my name within both.
Didn't fucking do anything.
Sid insists. Don glares at Sid, no doubt already plotting imminent passive punishment.
Get a slap the next time you use that word with me again.
Well, I didn't. They wanted me out from day one. Winding me up and that. Detentions for the same shit everyone else does.
On this definitive, rowdy occasion, sneaking in and ripping the wires off every one of the computer room's mice was how he took the anger out. Unsurprisingly leading to his swift, permanent exclusion.
Some of us to thank for that more than others.
Sigrid sarcastically smirks at Chrissy.
He's all right. Proper little front man. And he's even got chef in now. Haven't you?
Sid proudly grins.
What's all that?
Chrissy points at the dish's more mysterious vegetables.
Fiddlehead, black radish.
Sid boldly declares.
See? Look at this one. I ain't even heard of them. Natural talent is this lad. School'd have just done his head in. Don't think you're having any.
Don bellows without taking his eyes off a cringy safe-style window TV advert.
What?
Work's been erratic. We don't have enough. And until one of you two sorts an income of your own, I decide that.
Chrissy holds up his hands and winces.
Look, I'll come back another day.
Oh, Chrissy, stay for a bit.
Don't worry about it. I'll bring a family fucking feast with me next time for this tragically impoverished family here.
Chrissy fist bumps Sid as Sigrid reaches in for a hug that Chrissy wriggles out of.
I'll let you know when a date is set. Nothing's stopping us.
Sid pounds his fist as Chrissy waltzes out.
Don't let Squiddy forget about those 50 Gs.
Chapter 2. Pound a Pint. Chrissy strolls down his gritty, litter and glass-ridden town centre side street. Static X blaring from his house, heard as far as 9 doors away, lights up his mood. He ups the pace, reluctant to miss another second of partying after the fleeting, yet deflating family visit. An Asda delivery lorry hurtles past, which only means one thing. His housemate Sam Sullivan's had his weekly shopping. True to Chrissy's estimation, Sam stood outside smoking with 8 chunky bags for life worth of groceries surrounding his ankles. Unassumingly dressed in one of his sole 2 outfits, carrot chinos and a plain grey t-shirt, Sam's a game design student at Bangor University. Through a lack of forward planning, namely failing to sort his second year's university accommodation until the last minute, he has rented a room at Chrissy's crusty madhouse, where the parties rarely stop. It's been 2 months since moving into the bottom floor graveyard room. Historically, the place is most avoided by tenants. Chrissy's relentless conveyor belt of unsavoury drug customers being to blame for that. In this short period, Sam's developed an all-consuming weed habit, only intensifying his desire to hermit in his room. A sheltered childhood before his exposure to Bangor in the quiet village of Marsden, West Yorkshire, gifted him no exposure to drugs. Chrissy, the instigator and profiteer of Sam's newfound addiction, waves out his arms.
Sam Sullivan.
All right, man.
Sam lethargically lifts his head in acknowledgement.
How's the Hiral experience treating you?
Yeah, pretty wild, isn't it?
I make it wild, me.
Can't say I've had much sleep yet. Got lectures first thing in the morning.
Chrissy chillingly stares Sam down.
I'll help you with those bags, mate.
Sam instinctively bats Chrissy's arm away.
It's all right.
Chrissy drops the bags and sticks out his hands.
It's no bother.
Need the exercise.
Understood. If you need a bit of herbage to sprinkle on your crab pate on toast.
He points upwards.
You know where I fucking am.
Chrissy bobs his head and points to the beat of blaring industrial heavy metal. Raring for an 11th consecutive day of seshing, bashes his way through his best mate Squiddy's stiff bedroom door. Even for Squiddy standards, the room is a tip hole. Its sticky floors littered with clattered beer cans, spilt ashtrays, and cocaine-covered Xbox 360 cases. Static X, I'm with stupid, thunders out of the crisp Bose S1 speaker acquired in Sam's name by Chrissy, with £600 of Klarna credit. Squiddy, whose real name is Gwydion Nash, hectically headbangs his spiky mohawk while the thick gold chain around his neck flaps around, clanging onto his topless chest. Squiddy's as loopy as they come, a dangerous man in his own right, but unless provoked, he's only violent to himself. It's been 10 years since he and Chrissy moved into this grubby dwelling, with both having been similarly ousted from their family homes aged 16. During the time since, both have made a cushy living from selling cocaine, weed, ketamine and Valium. Their house's reputation among the plethora of local addicts, young and old, as a walk-in sesh pit and gear emporium ensures a constant flow of customers through word of mouth. Stood alongside Squiddy is Mikey, who's chugging Carlsberg out of a 2-litre stein glass while pounding his lanky arm upwards, spilling beer down his bashed-up blue Berghaus mountaineering jacket and the unsightly, stain-ridden brown carpet. Mikey's the group's old head at 30, and likes to think he nurtured Chrissy and Squiddy as drinkers from the age of 13, way back when they first met at the legendary, late noughties, goth-predominant Uni Gardens drinking sessions. And with only sporadic freelance graphic design work as an income, Mikey's last 6 months have been restricted to crashing on the house's grubby living room floor. A perfect breeding ground to further develop his chronic alcoholism. Following the screaming lyrics, "He's a loser," she said, Squiddy headbutts the open door of an oak wardrobe and doubles down with a chopping karate kick. Only now noticing Chrissy headbanging in the corner, Mikey wags his arm up while chugging beer. Chrissy perches his arse down at the desk and gets straight to work. A busy night lies in store down at the Skerry's Pound a Pint. This time he won't be underprepared for the demand. So 30 0.55 gram sized bags of cocaine are swiftly whipped up, all of which will be sold as grams for 80 quid. Sam painfully struggles and optimistically lugging all 8 shopping bags at once, the few steps to his bedroom. A shoulder barge wedges open the door. He tries to shimmy through, but an ill-fitting fridge freezer in the corner obstructs the door's wingspan, leaving him wedged with the shopping bags in between the door. Music upstairs doubles in volume as the three stomp their feet, rattling Sam's roof. He sighs and shoves the bags painstakingly one by one through the gap, before clambering over the fridge freezer and into his shoddy, patchily painted student room. A majority of Chrissy's customers resort to slapping Sam's window should the front door not be answered, in an instant. Such is Sam's anxiety around utilising the kitchen's greasy communal oven and surfaces. He keeps a mini hob in his room and makes everything in there. This does, however, come at the expense of comfort owing to the entire content of the kitchen being dotted around his compact box room. Out comes the dual hob oven, a new 30 quid purchase off a Joskin on Facebook Marketplace after the last died on him yesterday. Today's cuisine of choice is a roast, an ambitious venture given the microwave-sized oven that will be limited to frozen potatoes, boiled cabbage and cold, sliced chicken tikka. Mikey stumbles down the stairs clutching his bone-dry Steinglass, a problem given his guzzling of anywhere between 8 and 20 daily cans of Carlsberg, depending on finances. Although possessing a defective sense of smell, the cabbage steam brothing out of Sam's open room door hits a nerve. Mikey gags, cups his mouth, and legs it into the open-plan kitchen and living room that serves as his makeshift bedroom. This humble abode of his bears nothing more than a sheetless single mattress, a ripped-up duvet, and a floor caked with beer cans, takeaway wrappers, and a scribbled-over, grotty old leg cast. Now in an almighty huff, he cracks open 2 cans of Carlsberg and pours them simultaneously into his stein, only partly filling it. But with Sam's cabbage stench marring his pleasure of the bitter taste, he storms out into the corridor. Later that sweaty, humid late summer evening, Chrissy, Squiddy and Mikey bombard down the full moon-lit filthy pavement towards Skerry's. Chrissy leads the way, as is customary. Squiddy and Mikey slurp from 660ml bottles of Heineken as Chrissy bangs on about Vinny, a delinquent Bangor University business studies student who swerved on paying his £250 cocaine tick.
Inbred Sussex cunt's getting a slap if I see him, man. Do you know how many punters I've sent your way? Make you a shit ton of dough, me. Fuck does he think he is? Come in here, ticking our gear, Squiddy mutters. Robbing Bangor uni slots off locals.
He ferociously chugs half his beer.
Prick won't answer his phone or nothing. Even did a cheeky 1471 text. Telling the rat his sister had fucking croaked, man. Cat OD.
Squiddy's face tightens.
Still didn't answer.
Chrissy shakes his head and snatches Mikey's beer for a swig.
Fuck! Just for that, I'll twat him one for you.
He yanks a bottle of stumpy brassiere beer from his pocket and smashes the tip on the wall. It cracks, but remains safe to drink held at a distance from his mouth.
We see him tonight. Nah, it's sweet.
Squiddy wags his finger while pouring the last of the lager down his throat.
It's sweet, because now I just bag him up that MXE shite, and he's all over it, mate. Decent.
Some dark noise at MXE is.
Mikey apprehensively recalls.
Didn't pay his tip, did he? Lucky to get fuck all.
Had a rough time of that, mate. Barber patches all over the roof they were. Hostel won't ever let me back.
Neither holds a glimmer of interest in Mikey's moping as Chrissy loudly whistles at Selwyn Dudley, or Dudders as he's known to most. The Skerry's bouncer stood guarding the door in the distance.
Dudders, lad.
Hi, are you, dinglers?
Dudders pants as Chrissy and Squiddy squeeze him in a tight hug. Both gorp in awe at Dudders' fresh, thick headscar visible on his buzz-cut hair, 5 stitches above his left eye and brand spanking new glass right eye. All her injuries grievously obtained after courageously banishing Bangor's most feared drug dealer, Gustav, from the beer garden one dreary Sunday night last month. To defend his local honour and dignity, Gustav returned at close time with the main goons to gouge out his eye, before battering Dudders into a brief coma.
Fucking spot on, Dudders. Nothing but respect.
Chrissy eventually says after snapping out of his lucid fascination. Squiddy jabs Dudders in the belly, rattling his sore, fractured rib. Taking it in good heart, he jokingly grabs Squiddy's neck.
How's the fresh Google?
Sound, mate. Clunk teeth out of all bastard 5 of them. Knobby eye. Fat fucking walrus.
Dudders points in the local hospital's direction with Squiddy's neck firmly gripped with his other arm.
Still lying up the road in a coma, lad.
None of whom have dared come anywhere near Skerry's, or Dudders since.
Off your box, you.
Says the fucking one.
Dudders lets go of a now snarling, red-faced Squiddy, who aims a few open-palm slaps at his head before storming inside. Chrissy and Mikey chant as they dance their way into the pub.
Worth the Google, just for that?
Inside, it's roaring. A night that's so far proven by far the year's busiest as a 4-piece funk rock band tear it up on the compact, makeshift stage. All cramped into a tight space with a red cloth pool table because of Mal, the passive-aggressive bar manager, opting against wasting precious energy hauling it into the storeroom. 50 revellers are crammed in, avidly absorbing the action. 10 at the front skank wildly, headbanging in close proximity to the band having lost all spatial awareness after their second 330mg Technogym pill. Chrissy and Mikey struggle to push their way through the crowd that awkwardly blocks the smoking area's entrance. Squiddy has no such issues, as he briskly storms through to the front with minimal resistance, knocking a few vodka and cokes from people's grasp in the process. He screams in the band's frontman MCAT's face and explodes in a fierce fit of disorganised headbanging, single-handedly injecting a surge of chaotic vigour into the crowd. Once Mikey and Chrissy finally squeeze their way out back, they're met by just the bustling atmosphere Chrissy had dreamed of. Few, if any, are on the gear yet, ensuring he's just in time to swipe their hard-earned cash. Chrissy always arrives a few hours into the night, an optimal time when everyone's around 3 pints down, just pissed enough for the "I'm not getting a bag of beeg tonight, I swear down" pre-session insistence to whistle away. 6 conjoined wooden benches are rammed with a mashup of punk rockers, skaters, and some of the local North Face-wearing hardmen. 2 skaters take turns ollieing onto a ledge, close to a high concentration of drinkers, nearly raking down a different person's Achilles at each attempt. Before getting the chance to gather their bearings, Chrissy and Mikey are swamped by Gitor Ap Sean, an innocuous, wannabe drug dealer dressed in colourful skate-themed clothing as bright as his blonde curly hair. Gitor's bull-headed mate Warren follows restlessly behind, indignantly begrudging of those getting wrecked around him while his bank balance languishes on 65p.
The legend himself,
Gitor warmly says. Chrissy rolls his eyes and feigns a glancing smile, focusing primarily on finding the optimal table to ensure he's in view of customers. Gitor and Warren closely follow.
Good to see you here, mate. Who even are you?
Chrissy asks. Gitor's lower lip drops. After bragging to his cronies for weeks on end about how "my new mate Chrissy will get us flying in graft," Warren's bound to spill the truth, opening Gitor up to fierce ridicule.
Gave you that gram joint and peep?
Chrissy gazes earnestly at Mikey, who shrugs.
When Phil Mitchell was there? Must have been some shocking ganj.
Chrissy heads for a newly emptied table in prime attention-seeking position.
When can I get a Henry till, lad?
Warren abruptly asks. 30 quid's worth on tick is a steep ask for someone you've never spoken to. Especially for a grubby little oik like Warren.
And what do you baiteads plan on doing if that lack of subtlety gets me sent right fucking down one day, eh? No other cunt will ever shot to you.
Chrissy holds out his hands.
A perfect little bit of insight into why.
Gittot and Warren sink their heads down in shame. On a table in the distance, Chrissy's heavily made up ex-girlfriend Trin grimaces at his mere presence. A brief 6-month teenage fling ended once he spiked Trin's drink in revenge for her flat-out sexual abstinence during her period. Chrissy's sturdy, scam merchant, wholesale drug dealer Ben prepares a joint next to her, with all paraphernalia brazenly on show. Ben and Trin met on Tinder, and are out publicly together for the first time.
Chrissy Bray, biggest worm of this land.
Trin bitterly remarks.
Brahma lad him.
Sexual deviant creep like that. A fucking Brahma lad.
Ben shrugs while tucking his joint, and Trin turns away in a strop. Chrissy tends for a heavy hand with the ladies. While he's somewhat curtailed this as of late, it's a propensity that in his late teens left him on the brink of a 6-month juvenile custodial sentence. Only glowing references from his mother, who at the time was a teaching assistant, got him off the hook.
Shouldn't be walking the earth.
People change though. Can't hold what he did in school against him forever, no?
Chrissy creepily gazes over before blowing Trin a kiss. That's it. She stands up and subtly draws a small blade from her pocket. Hidden by her coat, it's just visible enough for him to catch the glint of a bright lamp beaming off the metal.
If you know what's good for you.
Ben looks up in awe. Nothing on Trin's Tinder profile suggested future enforcer material in the slightest. Now he knows he's scored a keeper here. Both an outrageous shag and cheap, capable labour in one. Chrissy looks away. He'll think twice about doing that again. Showing weakness in front of Ben surely added a few bob onto future ounce prices. At the bar, Squiddy giddily hoists up a tray of 5 Stein-sized beers with every facet of his brute strength. As he reaches the crowd's rear, the band's stocky, long-haired bassist Estelle peers over, desperate for a lager after 35 dry minutes. But he'll have to do with the 15th pipe hit of the band's 10-minute break for now, with Warren stood firmly in Squiddy's way.
I'll trample ya.
Gittle's heard that unquestionable final warning before, and he warily drags Warren out of harm's way. Others in front take note and unanimously clear Squiddy's path ahead to the band. Everyone give it up for the barbaric Squiddy Nash, MCAT bellows over the mic, and the band members gleefully grab a stein each, slurping down some essential Carlsberg jet fuel to get through the gig.
He shits all over the lot of you. Any of you young lads thought you were all that? Proper rocker? Well, you were fucking way off. The benchmark stands among us.
MCAT points to a small group of colourful punk women.
Some of you ladies, you're getting there.
He gives the band a silent 1, 2, 3 signal.
Not a million miles off.
MCAT erupts as the band embarks on their heaviest song. Squiddy leaps forward, tears a curtain off the wall, and lobs it into the feisty emerging mosh pit. Skerries is David Merrin's first stop after an exhausting escape on foot from Llanfair Fechan's Bryn y Neuadd Psychiatric Hospital, where he's been sectioned for the last 6 months. A wild night's in order before his inevitable capture and return by tomorrow noon at latest. His gangly 6'6" frame ensures he's always caught. Moved by the roar of Inside's music, David manically bobs up and down in the middle of Chrissy's 7-man cocaine and ketamine queue. "Rock and roll there, boy," he slurs. Gittot and Warren cup their mouths, aching to laugh. David breaks out a drum and bass version of Peter Crouch's Robot Dance on the spot, building up the intensity before stopping to bend down and speak in Chrissy's ear. "He's definitely bang on grams now, yeah?" Chrissy sighs and dangles a bag of ketamine behind his back, rudely skipping Warren and Gittot out of the queue. David hands over £30, stuffs his key into the bag, and shovels a hefty chunk sideways up his ooter. Before getting to snort it, he's overcome by an impromptu sneezing fit, with the consequent gust wafting the precious first taster off the key and onto the floor. Undeterred after a life as the ridiculed outcast, David wobbles over to 3 dancing lads stood by the place's trademark 40-foot-high flagpole. In true primary school disco style, he jumps up with raised hands, which takes the dancing lads out of their smooth stride. Spotting Sam in the corner, David's attention flickers to an empty wooden bench next to where he's gloomily sipping a cider and black, all on his little lonesome, having been stood up by his plastic university mates. David flips the bench over, and with seconds to avoid a painful crush, Sam halts its fall, struggles to uphold the weight and drops it, flicking his feet away from fractures galore as it crashes to the ground. David sprints away, chased off by the bar's snarling landlady. Sam clenches his fists, roars, chugs his full pint and bolts off with his rucksack out of the back gate. A few hours later, with the beak and ketamine flying around, it's time for every Skerry's regular's highlight of the night. On every pound a pint, at least one brave warrior takes a stab at the legendary North Wales Challenge, holding their grip on top of the place's 40-foot-high flagpole as it's vigorously shaken. Some say Clive Allen's 9 minutes 40 seconds at the summit is unassailable, but not Mikey, who's stepping up to the plate tonight with that record firmly in his sight. Stood at the bottom with closed eyes, he takes in deep breaths as the crowd awaits in tense silence. One last stretch of his shoulders, and he doggedly jumps onto the pole, shimmying up to the top within 20 seconds. After poking one hand out to signal he's ready, Squiddy starts his waterproof wristwatch's stopwatch timer and violently shakes the pole. Mikey momentarily dangles off, pretending he's scared, but a minor slip snaps the drip out of any theatrics, and he quickly clutches the pole for dear life. John bolts and Zach cracks square over, both hench, 6 foot plus, mean, rough-looking brutes sporting full black and white Adidas tracksuits. They barge through the crowd and endeavour to wrestle Squiddy away from the pole.
I'll give him a fucking challenge, lad,
John insists. Squiddy single-handedly blocks their path to the pole.
Swear down. Let us through or I'll fucking bottle you,
Zach viciously warns. Squiddy's eyes fire up. He whistles Chrissy over and points to the pole. Squiddy glares into the pit of Zach's soul and hands him a glass bottle. Zach grins and reaches for the bottle of Foster's, but at the last second, Squiddy swipes it from his grasp and throws a thunderous knee into Zach's balls, sending him crashing to his knees and on the verge of spewing. As John steps forward for a spot of revenge, Squiddy bottles himself to a collective gasp from the crowd. Blood pours down his forehead as he holds the jagged bottle diagonally towards John. Jasmine Price gawps in a fit of awe at Squiddy from a nearby table. Despite being 17 and underage to drink, she's one of Bangor drinking scene's stalwarts and has just spent the afternoon in court, accused of booting the wing mirrors off 3 cars. Never did she imagine quite how this thrilling evening would make up for the day's utter boredom. As John steps backwards away from Squiddy, she dangles out a leg, tripping him into a bush to a raucous collective roar of jeers. John panics and drags Zach away, scraping his fallen mate's knees on the floor before he eventually finds the strength to stand.
I bottle my fucking self.
Squiddy launches the bottle, showering them in fragments of glass. Mikey abseils down the pole as Chrissy continues to shake it. 15 foot from the floor, he loses grip and flops onto a wooden bench. Dirty cooking utensils obscure the bottom corner of Sam's telly. E4 IT crowd repeats have played for 5 hours straight while he's failed to doze off until minutes ago. Not helped in his quest for sleep by progressively dull hunger pains after barely touching his dry dinner that sits on the desk, gathering fruit flies. An unlit joint dangles cherry side up out of an ashtray on the bed. One toss or turn will surely capsize the brimming ash mountain onto his fresh bed sheets. Suddenly, his rigid, stuffy excuse of a snooze is brought to an abrupt end by scatty, nonsensical chatter and drunken laughter from outside, a common occurrence during Sam's short stay at the house. Chrissy grunts hysterically for the whole street to hear.
Ah, don't say you lost it,
he shouts at Mikey. A horrendous thud on the door and sends a tingle through his spine. Squiddy's head pops through the curtains, his torso wedged in the thin window frame that Sam stupidly left open.
Letting us in or what, Dingler?
Sam rubs his face and slams his bedroom door on the way to let them in. Jasmine and Mikey shove Squiddy through the cramped window ledge, leaving him dangling upside down in Sam's room.
Piss off, boys.
Jasmine slickly evades Squiddy's downward kick aimed for Mikey's head, the momentum of which takes him through the window, and he plonks headfirst onto Sam's bed. Chrissy bursts through the door and lightly slaps Sam on each cheek as he barges past.
Cheers, Squire.
Mikey, Jasmine, MCAT, Estelle, and the band's pink and black-haired guitarist Fryer blitz past Sam, knocking him on his backside. Sam storms back to his bedroom door, only to be met by Squiddy shoving past, holding up Sam's packet of raw king skins.
Won't use them all.
Everyone heads straight through into Mikey's bedroom, where he's busy scrubbing 5 plates, as many as he's washed in a month, to do lines off with everyone eager to unleash their fresh gram bags. All other than Jasmine, that is, who as usual is on the scav. On this occasion, her main target is Chrissy, who she's worked on all night, throwing out all the fake flirtation she can stomach to ensure the free lines flow her way. After only half an hour, she hangs back her head with crossed arms while Chrissy bores her to death.
Right in my fucking face she was. How can you not get a job in 10 years? You're a repulsive delinquent. All this shit. Mate. You're my fucking dole officer, I said to her. And one that repeatedly fails miserably in their bastard job at that.
Squiddy whips out the party time, 4-foot, fold-up pool table with its ragged, beer-stained cloth from the cupboard. Savouring the opportunity of a stable surface, Estelle snorts a long line of ketamine off the table felt, grimaces, and passes Squiddy the £20 note to finish the slug off. Jasmine comes to the conclusion that a gain of a mere few lines to listen to Chrissy's laborious claptrap simply isn't worth the probable brain aneurysm. She gets up, picks up a pool cue, and steadies herself before smashing the cue ball towards Squiddy's head as he snorts the rest of Estelle's line, only missing by a whisker. Squiddy picks up the ball and launches it her way without letting it go as she leaps behind the sofa in fright. Fryer opens the fridge in search for Budweiser, reaching right to the back. Only before he can yank one out, his face turns pale white. He retches, legs it out into the corridor and bashes into Sam's wall, startling the frazzled lad just as he managed to doze back off.
Sort your fridge out, boys. I'm dying here.
Fryer utters before projectile vomiting up the wall and slumping to his knees. To only add to Sam's woes, Shane and Llewellyn are outside, clattering both the front door and his bedroom window. This pair are 2 notorious banger bust-up loiterers and among Chrissy's most irritating customers. Both lace Chrissy's pocket just enough to avoid a permanent ban from the house. They stand poorly dressed, covered in the battered tracksuits you'd expect on adult chronic public area cider guzzlers.
Prick's definitely in, man.
Shane adamantly adds.
Flying through this window in a minute if he carries on.
Llewellyn screams through the letterbox.
Oh, wait there now.
Llewellyn bursts in the second the door opens.
How are you? Well, if it isn't Lord of the Tick and his mighty apprentice.
Llewellyn and Shane burst out laughing and high-five each other.
Tick, Meister and Lord Tick. Not even after Tick. Cash is in my possession and I'm willing to fucking part with it. Do you do 0.5s a green, lad?
20 bag or fuck all.
Oh, come on, mate. Nah, fuck you and your 0.5s, man.
Things are heating up in the kitchen. Mikey wraps a crusty tea towel around his mouth and nose while taking out the fridge's manky shelves and content. Hoping to show Fryer up as a pussy for his pitiful reaction to their fridge, Squiddy bends himself up and squeezes into the half-size fridge freezer, to the adulation of everyone present. Chrissy slams the door shut and tips the fridge on its side. MCAT anxiously looks on as Chrissy waves Mikey over. They grab a side each, hoist the fridge up and shake the thing until Squiddy falls out and thuds to the floor. Squiddy gets straight back up and swings a flying uppercut Mikey's way that he shimmies backwards to avoid, sending him crashing into the pile of dishes. a ferocious bout of kitchen boxing ensues, as is the sesh house's tradition at any sniff of an opportunity. After not making it to bed, Squiddy and Mikey lie face down that next morning, asleep on the kitchen floor as the stuffy sun rays beam down on Squiddy's face through the window, only adding to the bitter dehydration that awaits his hazy eventual awakening. Squiddy's topless with Jasmine's t-shirt wrapped around his head, nicked as a rag to stem the bleeding heavily prevalent by their 10th or so round of brutal kitchen boxing. Empty cans, puke, blood and fag dimps litter the place, and an open bottle of whiskey lies on its side next to Squiddy, tactically left with a swig worth for morning. Next to Mikey's hand is the oven door, splattered in dried blood after being torn off and utilised during one of last night's rougher rounds of sparring. Chrissy wobbles in wearing nothing but boxers with a mighty skip in his stride. Jasmine sullenly settled for him after gathering the others present were low on gear and that her plan A, Squiddy, couldn't prise himself away from kitchen boxing. Not even to give her one. Luckily for her, Chrissy didn't last long. 110 seconds to be exact. A small price in her eyes for securing the rest of the night's coke and ketamine buzz. Chrissy stumbles over Mikey's outstretched leg and gazes down in astonishment. A damp bag of ketamine on the floor perilously near a spilt beer swipes his attention. He dashes over and urgently yanks it from harm's way, but can't stand its defective, damp sight and throws it down on a dusty nearby surface. Hacked off by this disappointing early afternoon start, he tips a few frozen sausages onto a crusty baking tray. Jasmine bursts in nude from the waist up and frantically searches the room. Oi, oi, you slag.
Seen my top or what?
It doesn't take Jasmine long to find it. She storms over and boots Squiddy in the ribs, garnering nothing more than a burp as he stays asleep.
Cunt, man. Bloodstain the lot.
She spits on Squiddy's neck and throws on her Henley's top. Batty in a bump? We'll sort you right out.
Not of that shite, it won't. Be a drip for parole.
Jasmine checks her phone for the time and grimaces. A mere 10 minutes is all that's spare. A potentially catastrophic mismanagement of time, given her court-imposed anger management sessions, which are mandatory after twice being convicted of grievous bodily harm this year.
That I'm going to be fucking late for.
Will we be seeing you next time then?
Get him some better Kenny than that, and you just might.
This brings an end to Sam's 3-hour kip. Deeply pale-faced, he jolts up, checks his phone, and flicks off his soon-upcoming, preset 8:30am alarm, concluding there and then that lugging it up to lectures is simply off the cards. With a bruised shoulder from last night, he turns on his stomach and closes his eyes. It's Llewellyn and Shane.
You'd got on tick earlier. None of this would be happening.
Dingla-dee and dingla-dum, man.
Bangor bus stop's finest are back. Lord of the tick is no more, lad. 2 out of fucking 2.
Chrissy anxiously ushers the drips in and leads them to the kitchen.
Unprecedented times for Lord Llewellyn Tick Jones. Gold mine peep entrances are closed, lad. 2 Hmong students, coughed up 10 bar for 2 fucking skimpy little gold leaf rollies.
Llewellyn snapped out of his entrepreneurial bravado by the grisly sight of a bloodied Mikey and Squiddy sprawled out on the floor.
Midsummer murders in here, man. Don't let me get back on the tick list.
Chrissy shrugs and throws the damp bag of ketamine at Shane. A drop of beer flies off it in mid-air. Shane catches the bag and closely examines its generous quantity for the price.
Bus stops won't know what's in them.
Sam's measly 25% university attendance ensures his first tutorial of the year is mandatory. To make abundantly sure of his presence, he stays up all night, ploughing through 2 entire seasons of Big Bang Theory to help. After 2 stints of lightheadedness while conquering a nasty hill leading up to the university's main arts building, nicknamed Hogwarts for its ancient mystical design, Sam's horrified to find out his tutorial's in a room chock-a-block with lecturers typing away. His burnt-out, Oxford graduate, upper-class tutor Slinger swivels around in his chair with a dreary scowl, majestically not sweating buckets while wrapped in a thick purple scarf in the sticky, humid room.
Your lack of application, Sam. It's gone on too long. Talk about good on paper but failing to deliver. This AI scripting paper from last year. Oh, I can't wait much longer for it.
There's reasons.
Slinger scoffs and shakes his head.
What did you expect? But I can't sleep to save my life.
Yeah. Party's in your house. You're in uni. And if you can't embrace it, fair enough. But you've had all summer to find somewhere decent, and you haven't, have you?
Would have were my loan not 6 weeks late.
Take some responsibility. There are hardship loans.
Oh, yeah. All of £100 to last me the month. Right.
Bad habits will be your downfall. We've practically begged you to get counselling and you quit. How can we help you if you don't help yourself?
All that medical professional knew was how to scribble out the prescriptions. He might as well prick me with a bit of skag himself.
He's a qualified therapist.
Not going near that thug again.
Best one this uni's ever had. And you know better than him, do you?
About giving adolescents with circumstantial depression, caused by university-induced poverty, a benzo-shaped gateway to shooting junk up Bangor Mountain, just so they can get on with their essays? Yeah, can think of a fair few fucking better ways to help students, me.
Get your head straight for this course, whatever it takes. Get a payday loan. Get it off your nan. Sell one of your little old Game Boys.
Sam's heard enough. He gets up and storms out of the door, leaving a cauldron of murmuring lecturers in his wake. Yearning to keep his university hopes alive and avoid the turmoil of moving back in with his mentally abusive parents, Sam storms home and heads for a tentative word with Chrissy in the kitchen. Blood's always made him squeamish, and the dry cocaine nosebleed stains littering the lino creep him out.
Session of the year. How are you, lad?
Yeah, good, Chrissy. Not bad. Just wanna...
Chrissy cracks open a can of tomato soup. Soup?
Nah, you're alright. Not a fan.
He empties the can aggressively into an already boiling kettle.
Sorry, mate. Look, I just wanted to have a word about the noise levels at night.
Way ahead of you. It has been a mental few months, I know. And we were all actually just saying that last night between us.
Sam's jaded eyes perk up.
Yeah. We're going to tone it down from now on, with all the application we can muster.
That's ever so considerate of you all. It's nearly job done in uni now. They have no time for me.
Oh, yeah. Look, that's my number. You just text any time. Squiddy's on one. Whatever.
Sam gratefully clutches the damp scrap of paper.
I won't abuse this boundary. You have my word.
Not only that, it's about time you had a gram of this ammo.
Chrissy passes Sam a bag of weed, one of the 10 underweight gram bags designated for noobs who are oblivious to the fact they're getting mugged off.
On the house. For all the ag you claim to have endured.
Just keeps me even in these harsh times. You sure I can have that?
Never been more sure of anything. And if that shit somehow doesn't tickle your bollocks.
Chrissy hands over a strip of Valium and winks. Sam timidly accepts the strip after careful consideration. Kettle steam spouts out into Chrissy's smirking face as Sam backs out of the room, painfully embarrassed to ask how you take Valium, and keen to get out of Chrissy's dark energy without knowing why. A dollop drops on Chrissy's toe.
You prick.
Sam darts back into his room. Ruining the decision to give out free drugs, Chrissy decides it's time for some passive-aggressive revenge through the boys' new favourite game. Aiming for the slimiest possible, Chrissy examines the backyard's rat-infested mound of bin bags and menacingly drags out the gnarliest 3. As Sam rams pizza and chips into his mini-oven, Chrissy lobs the bags against his door and dashes up the stairs to watch the drama unfold. A grimy, green fluid stain slithers down the wall, with one of the bags torn from the impact and its grisly, multiple-week-old content dispersed around the floor. Sam opens the door with his sticky, tomato sauce-covered fingers and cups his head in despair, long having thought these days were over, that they only did this as a corny frat boy initiation. This time, the carnage is far worse. Sam scoops up the mess with his bare hands into 3 overflowing bin bags and drags them to the outside bin. Watching from his bedroom window with a fresh joint ready to light, Chrissy manically jumps up and down, summoning Squiddy and Mikey as Sam takes a breathless break halfway through the few-foot journey to the bin.
Oh, shit. He's out.
Squiddy and Mikey cram themselves onto the window ledge, closely watching Sam's every move as he lifts up the green bin's lid and drops the bags.
Oh, already tried that one, mate. Better luck next time, Squire.
Reluctant to add to the backyard squalor, Sam gazes over to the house opposite and looks down, stroking his chin.
No way!
Mikey utters in amazement.
He's checking the odds.
Sam shakes his head.
Holy shit!
Sam assertively drags the bin bags across the main road at a slug's pace.
2-1, he gets sparked out.
Withstanding any fleeting second thoughts, Sam sheepishly opens their neighbour Gustav's bin lid and quietly sticks in the bags. Gustav tears open his red curtains and screams out of the window in Hungarian. Sam legs it back inside, clipping his toe on the curb as he stumbles into the open front door. Just the mid-morning kick the boys are after. They jeer Sam on and erupt in squeaky laughter as he clatters into the door. But this is no standard neighbour. Mental old Gustav, a true Eastern European brick shithouse, bursts out with a can of Foster's in a vest and striped tracksuits. Chrissy, Squiddy and Mikey duck down out of sight, eager to keep their googles intact. Unlike poor Dudders, Gustav's head twitches, and he looks down suspiciously before strutting over the road and ferociously slamming on their front door. Following a solid 10 minutes cowering under his bed, Sam finally finds the courage to get up, but only after hearing Gustav zoom off in his vintage Fiat Strada. An L-shaped spliff build in his hand rips as he jolts up at an unnerving clang from the oven. Lights out. What a con! Short of money for a takeaway, and with the shooting hunger pains proving unbearable, Sam heads for the kitchen's greasy communal oven, an eventuality he's feared since day one. He shoves in the baking tray and picks up the floored oven door, dropping it the second last night's blood touches his hand. Mikey gazes over, scratches last night's head wound and turns back to the computer, oblivious to the light stream of blood now trickling down his ear. Chapter 3. Dio.
Sam's fiery mother, Sharon Sullivan, widely known as Shaz, drives down a dark, bumpy, pothole-ridden country lane carved out through a field towards her traveller cousin's remote Bickerton settlement. It's her first visit in 10 years, and buckets of joyous childhood memories flood back from every corner of the land. Her overweight, speckled husband slumps in the arched back passenger seat, shivering in his skimpy, non-weather-appropriate outfit on this bitter evening, bashfully sulking at Shaz's stonewall insistence on keeping the windows wide open on account of her chain-smoking. Having tried everything possible to isolate Shaz from the Barrys, he's thoroughly dreading the probable hostile reception from her sturdy cousins, all long suspicious of his intentions. TalkSport live commentary rustles from the radio's weak signal, disrupting Thomas's avid analysis of West Ham's Europa League Conference League fixture. Paramount research for a promising weekend fourfold accumulator.
Get him back for the Brazil game at 11, no matter what.
Thomas insists.
You can still bet on it.
Shaz sharply says.
Not if I'm not watching it. Missing 3 Europa League games for this already. 2 of them are winning.
Fucking ages since we've been here. Suck it up for a bit.
They ride over a significant pothole, and a screech from the bottom of the car stabs through Thomas's fragile, stingy soul.
Steep night already.
Their Jeep's headlights glow up a roaring party in the distance next to a bundle of caravans. Kids roast marshmallows in the billowing flames of an extravagant bonfire stacked with cracked wooden chairs and tables, surrounded by scores of Shaz's family. While on the next field, a full-blooded, 13-a-side football game is in full swing, contested by a mixture of young children and adults, with clothing as goalposts.
Shaz bursts out of the car and into the arms of her fearsome lump of a cousin, Connor Barry.
So good that you're here,
Connor says.
Thomas shrivels up and lingers awkwardly as they hug, chronically intimidated by Connor's brute force and alpha male energy. Connor squeezes Thomas's hand. Chief, in turn aggravating his early-stage carpal tunnel syndrome. Keen to melt into a corner and keep firmly to himself,
Thomas leads Shaz to a pair of bright, fireside blue and white deck chairs. Not even the soothing flames can take his mind off the football. He holds a rigid posture, tapping his foot restlessly against the chair. Connor waddles over, cradling an impressive haul of beer bottles shovelled on top of his tree trunk-esque forearms. First, he offers Thomas one, who coldly shakes his head to Connor's visceral bewilderment.
Made me drive and all. I'll fucking well have one then.
Shaz swipes a beer and cracks it open off the fire's metal barrel base edge. Connor points over to Shaz's 17-year-old cousin, Caleb Skillin Barry, a good-looking, dark-haired lad caked in white designer sportswear, bantering in the distance with his slender, blonde-haired new girlfriend.
Ah, man, Skilling. 4 different strains of weed over there. Only one of them's not homebrew.
Not for me as of late.
What? You'll have some, won't you?
Shaz glances anxiously over at Thomas, but assured he won't dare give her lip around family, she settles for ominous silent treatment and heads over to Skilling. Connor breathes a sigh of relief and plonks himself down in her seat.
Got everyone into it at school, you. 60p a spliff, bringing them in all pre-rolled.
Suppose.
4:30 you were up before school rolling them, weren't you?
Connor cackles.
Even battered Gaza John over it in year 8. 30p owed you. Half for one, Skinner.
Triggered by Thomas's lack of response, Connor stops laughing.
Ruthless. I'll give you that.
Conveniently for Thomas, his phone rumbles as Sam calls for the first time in months, paving a perfect opportunity to piss off back to the car and check out the Bangor Races afternoon winners. Shaz sits back down with both a spring in her step and a 3 ounce of weed, itching to devour her year's first smoke.
How's that Sam anyway?
He's doing what he likes, I think. Getting through uni. Not been using his time to pull many birds though. Bless him.
That you know of. Chin's little one over there.
Who's Chin?
Gav. Gav Chin, everyone calls him now. Anyway,
Connor points out towards the football field.
Spit of Sam or what?
Shaz feigns a half smile.
Chin, lad.
Chin grabs the arms of his Liverpool shirt-wearing children, John, who's 3, and Charlotte, who's 5, and proudly struts over.
14 he were when he had Charlotte. 14. Morgany, look at him.
Connor and Shaz chuckle as Chin heads over with a cheesy smirk. Having never met her young second cousins, Shaz struggles to hold back the tears. Thomas lounges back in the car, smoking in full view of the party.
Look, I've got £2 to my name. No oven or nothing.
Sam says.
I just can't see how it's late me. Well, it is, Dad. Spent it all on that bloody smoke of yours. That funky stuff, no doubt. I can get a hardship loan, maybe. But for today, I'm fucking famished. You'll get anything I lend back as soon as. I'll tell you what, give it till Monday, and me and your mum... We'll bell the tossers. Sort this right out, lad, we will.
Sam rubs his head.
Great, but for today and the rest of the weekend, a loan of about £20 wouldn't go amiss. Please! I'd love to, but getting right on it down races tomorrow we are, see? One time I asked for your help. You're not serious, are you?
Unable to hack the eerie tension, he whacks up TalkSports' volume.
Hope that shrimp pie gives you the right runs.
Sam pelts his phone into the wall and slumps down by his desk, grimacing at the sight of an empty Rizzler packet.
You fucking what? Right creature Bangor's turned you into. Bit of hunger will do you no harm, the sounds of it.
At breaking point and bone dry of smoking papers, Sam snatches his last £2 coins and key for a dreaded shop trip. Before making it to the front door, he skids on last night's crusting mound of vomit, dropping the key and coins, and left delirious at the Strongbow dark fruit-heavy vomit stains on his Topman canvas shoes. Chrissy smugly strides out of the kitchen, subtly gazes down, and shimmies his foot, nudging the key out of sight.
Steak, bacon and rustlers, is it?
Painful choices to either all this time.
Chrissy puffs out his cheeks and hands Sam the second coin.
Fwah.
Hope the trauma don't get to your head.
Oh, I know. Nice one.
Chrissy scowls in bitter resentment the second Sam leaves. Chrissy picks up the key, locks Sam's door from the outside, and carefully barges it in, tactically avoiding any cosmetic damage. A failed lock test confirms his success, and he skips off upstairs. Sam's slumped shoulders shiver pitifully on this 1-degree, drizzly evening. Ben thunders past and pulls up on the curb in a tidy white Land Rover pickup. 10 hooded youths await him, giddily gathered on the pavement, jumping around and pulling wheelies on their stolen bikes. While it's a mere few 100-metre trip to the shop, this motley crew adore heckling Sam, and with Brandon, the main culprit of routine seagull dropping through Sam's window, eyeing him up, Sam knows he's right in for it. With pavement only covering their side of the road, he's left with no choice but facing the dinglers to avoid a night consumed by dismal hunger pangs. Ben wags out his second finger, and Gitto ap Sean, the bumbling leader of this predominantly school-age gang of roadmen, swaggers over, dressed in all black.
How are you, my mate?
Gitto lights a spliff with a clipper lighter by Ben's car window. Ben slaps the hefty joint out from Gitto's mouth, and it rolls under the car's tyre.
Told you, didn't I? No chonging on the fucking high street.
Ben viciously demands. Gitto nervously nods and hands over 10 £20 notes with a trembling hand. Ben cackles cynically, bathing in Gitto's terror and embarrassment until he's had his fill.
Dingler, man.
Only then does he pass over a 3.5 gram bag of cocaine. Sam strolls tentatively past the group with utmost care while they jeer his way, mocking his now crusty £16 blue Topman canvas shoes and mop haircut. Some deliberately stand in Sam's way as he heads past the car and glances briefly at Ben.
Tell that little rat, wouldn't I? He can come here and chat shit about my .8s to my face. See what fucking happens.
Ben warns Gitto. Brandon opts to take things into his own hands. He throws up his hood, darts over to Sam on a BMX, and trudges slowly alongside him.
Let's see your backflip then, lad.
Brandon gazes back at his cronies before doing a 360-degree tailspin, swiping Sam's feet and sending him thundering to the floor as the pound coins roll into a drain. Sam jumps straight up and sprints back to the house with a minor limp. Enraged by the brazen disorder and lack of respect at a time of business, Ben hurtles the car 10 metres down the road, running over Gitto's joint in the process.
Pull 10 bag in that.
Ben leaps out and pummels Brandon one on the chops, to the shock of his cronies, who do nothing to help, all weary of losing the best coke dealer in Bangor should they step in. Brandon's legs give way, and he rocks his head on a shop window that cracks. As a tax for his urban sins, Ben lobs Brandon's £650 BMX onto the back of the pickup. Roller's drum and bass blares through the house, ensuring Sam's evening will not only be a hungry one, but another disrupted by chaos. Gitto, Warren and Jasmine have tagged along for tonight's excursions. It's Gitto and Warren's debut sesh at the house, an opportunity grasped with both hands after buying a 1/4 ounce of haze each from Chrissy, and, for the first time, not getting told to fuck straight off afterwards. With their wounds from previous battles well and truly licked, Mikey and Squiddy stand facing each other in the 4th round of the night's highly anticipated kitchen boxing bout. A scrap only built up further by the oven door scandal and a day of fierce trash talking. Mikey's gone all out in preparation, wolfing down 6 white bread ham sandwiches to build up the necessary strength. Mikey opens the 4th round by exploiting Squiddy's uncharacteristically lax defence with a torrent of body shots. Squiddy winces, failing miserably in his plight to keep a straight face. Mikey wheels his arm around, showboating for the expectant crowd. Warren and Gitto cheer wildly in the background as both cannot believe their luck. A front row seated to notorious James Street kitchen scrap.
Stop pissing about then.
Mikey needs no second invitation. He pummels Squiddy one on the cheekbone, and Squiddy's eyes squint as a red raw mark starts forming. Despite this, Squiddy's head remains unmoved and he roars, finally having woken himself up.
Fucking flatten him, Squiddy.
Squiddy winks at Jasmine.
Might as well scrap all your Mario saves now.
Chrissy shouts over to Warren.
Might as well skin up that eighth. Divided into 4 joints will do.
Warren boisterously responds. Gitto high-fives Warren as they turn to each other and chuckle, both supremely confident in their bet with Chrissy over the fight. If Mikey wins, they get an eighth of weed. But if Squiddy were to prevail, then Warren has to hand over his beloved Nintendo DS. Squiddy repeatedly pretends to slap Mikey, who shudders each time, much to Squiddy's amusement. Chrissy checks the text. It's one from Sam, saying, "Hey man, sorry to be that guy, but can you keep the music down a tad, please?" 10 long minutes later, and Sam's at last been gifted a response. A picture of Mikey knocked out on the floor, with a cut forehead and purple Sharpie scribbled over his face. Warren, Gitto and Squiddy all pose around him, pulling ridiculous punk rock poses with their wagging tongues out. This is swiftly followed by a second picture of Chrissy smoking a 1.5 size spliff with deliberately messy hair. Finally, a voice message follows that's voiced by Gitto. Due to the catastrophic trauma and hardship we have all witnessed here, the minimum permitted level of sound in line with Sesh House policy is being closely adhered to. We thank you for your sheer cooperation and understanding on what is a difficult time for all.
Basking in the glory of his latest gambling triumph, Chrissy pokes his legs up on the sofa and lies back, playing Mario on Warren's reluctantly forfeited Nintendo DS.
Squiddy puffs out his chest and chugs spiced rum, delighted having earned his first knockout win in over 100 such spars. Jasmine prods the motionless mess with her foot.
Not just gonna fucking leave him there, no?
Chrissy grimaces.
Nice tug might do the job.
Chrissy waves his arm near Mikey's crotch and waggles his tongue.
Get on it then, boy.
Won't work off me, will it? We've all had ya, and he hasn't. Cunt won't stop banging on about it.
Fucking creep. Not a chance.
Jasmine gags and shakes up a 2-litre bottle of budget cola.
That's Mixer, darling.
Jasmine pours the cola over Mikey, successfully flicking him back to civilization as he flails his sticky, startled head around. Chrissy snatches the bottle, glares at its nearly empty contents, and wickedly stares her down.
Not even enough for a jar.
Chrissy grunts, picks up Warren's pint glass of Guinness and tips it over Jasmine. With the last fiver of his fortnightly pocket money blown on a single 0.05 gram line of cocaine, Warren's left unable to replace his last beer. He punches the wall, incensed at his now pathetic beer and drugless plight as the low-grade bash cocaine rapidly wears off, only minutes after the line.
Better piss off for more.
Chrissy warns Jasmine. With tonight's free ketamine binge in mind, she swiftly obliges, deliberately leaving the front door wide open as to hopefully attract thieves. After being gifted a 1/4 gram of ketamine by Franny Harps outside the shop, she almost doesn't bother with the cola. But revelling in the thought of Chrissy's elaborate, subreddit-led vendetta against the stuff, she grabs a bottle of budget Diet Cola. For nothing other than to waste time before presenting the sesh's key component, she takes a pit stop and stumbles into Sam's unlocked room. Sam grimaces at the ragged-haired, sticky lass approaching him.
Upsets me, it does.
Jasmine seductively mutters.
Get out!
Not even a lousy how are ya?
Please get out of my room.
Jasmine bites her lip and edges ever closer to Sam.
Look, I've had all these lot.
Jasmine climbs onto the bed, sending Sam squirming into the corner.
But it's you I want.
She grabs his crotch from the outside and whispers in his ear.
Not too slight.
She smirks.
Classy. Full of respect. Everything I want fucked into me. None of them have it in 'em.
Pretty fucking far from slight.
Sam shoves Jasmine off the bed.
All right, mate.
She pulls out a chair from the desk and slumps on it backwards.
We'll get to know each other first then.
Kinger would go a long way. Got one?
I shall swiftly return.
Course you don't.
No sooner than Jasmine's sticky hands leave the door handle, Sam drags over a 5-foot-high clothing cupboard and places it in front of the door. Blaring dub techno rambling through the walls drowns out her chorus of foul, rejection sensitivity-influenced expletives. She punches the door and reluctantly gives up hope. Desperate to drown the night out, Sam makes an executive decision to break his Valium virginity. And without knowing any better, he throws 2 30mg pills in his mouth, chugging them down with a pint of water. When nothing happens for a good few minutes, he assumes the entire pack's needed for any effect. But being the ultimate steady Eddie, he settles for half as an experiment. 3 more sink down his trap, and he lies back for a game of FIFA, back to a career mode within inches of taking his beloved Bradford AFC from League 2 to the Premier League. As the Valium quickly sets in, his usual airtight defence suffers, and he crashes to a 4-0 half-time deficit before giving up and whacking on robot walls repeats. Throbbing ankle and neck pain magically fades away, and he sinks into what is usually a disgustingly bumpy, rock-solid mattress for a deep sleep. Finally, he blissfully thinks, while nodding off as the living room speaker's dirty, stinking bass fades out. A week later, and Chrissy's just back from Mice G, fresh from parting ways with 1,200 quid. What he was promised in exchange was 8 ounces of Ben's self-proclaimed dankest lemon pie to ever grace Fortha Castell. On closer inspection, this couldn't be further from the truth, with its seedy, leaf-heavy content expertly wrapped up in 6 layers of cling film, hidden until proudly unveiled to Squiddy and Mikey, much to his abject embarrassment. Never in years of dealing for Ben has he been fucked over quite so spectacularly. Squiddy sprawled out on a beanbag, grimacing at the leafy 1.5 gram tester spliff swiped from Chrissy's memory foam pillow-sized bag of weed, without consent.
Tasty ash your crystals made, Chrissy lad. All the loonies in my G are getting wrecked, and you're stuck with that, prick. Not my fault you're a dingler, and you went back to Ben once again. Anyway, Sam will have a bit of that off you.
As quick as that, Chrissy snaps out of his early-stage nihilistic downward spiral. 60 quid off Sam, and a 1/4 ounce of proper Barnevelt Brothers ganja from their Rachib cottage is well and truly in the bag.
Where's that gimp binner?
Chrissy shrugs before heading downstairs and pounding on Sam's door.
North Wales Buds room service for Sam Sullivan.
Now, Chrissy despises being ignored, not least by those deemed weak. Again, he bashes, to no avail. To put his all-accessible house dream to the test, he gazes left and right before failing with a run-up barge, bruising his shoulder as a dose of bitter, deadbeat karma. It doesn't halt his dogged perseverance, and after 4 similarly Herculean bashes, a tight gap's carved open to squeeze in.
It soon becomes evident that an 11th shoulder dislocation of the decade was far from worth chancing. Lying on his side, Sam's motionless, week-old vomit-covered face points straight at Chrissy as he edges in. Troubled more by the possible jail time, Chrissy shrieks at the sight of a half-empty Valium strip stuck to Sam's jeans with dry vomit. Anger seeps through his soul, indignation at how someone could be so pathetic that they croak after 5 paltry Valiums. So that's how he justifies it, and any flittering sorrow beyond the shock is short-lived. What a weak little man. It's got to be the landlord's fault for letting him in here, so he can deal with it now. Despite sticking pity for Sam aside, he cannot spare himself the same luxury. Time to spread the workload. Putting on his A-game mask of dismay, Chrissy scampers up to Squiddy, who keeps his genuine guilt and despair firmly internal, a trait perfected for childhood survival purposes owing to his physically abusive army sergeant father. With disposable gloves, they ransack the house for incriminating evidence and pack a night bag, understandably leaving the horror of Sam's room until last. Squiddy cracks a quiet tear while tearing the Valium strips stuck on Sam's jeans, and after a harrowing, private last look at the fallen lad, he stuffs their collective evidence bin bag into a holdall. Yeah, just welfare check would be spot on. That son of mine. Don't want to be trouble or out.
Chrissy says on the phone to the police, poorly imitating Thomas's Bradford accent. There's only one place for such desperate times, and that's Squiddy's derelict old house. Place affectionately renamed Base Camp, the group's pre-drinking age den of drug and drum and bass music exploration. Lit up by minimal, sketchy streetlight, they only just spot the graffiti-littered wall of their now barricaded, weed-stricken second home. Squiddy panics. Never has it been boarded up before, but the anguish soon passes. Nobody keeps him out of anywhere, not least a wooden barricade. The pair head up Bangor Mountain, where Squiddy's buried 4 weapons. Concluding that only a crowbar's up to the job, they head for Bangor Golf Club's 5th hole, where it's semi-brazenly stashed in a mountainside bush. A 3-metre leap separates them from the small roof surface surrounding Base Camp's last remaining entrance. Still spinning from 3 Xanax bars munched minutes before dole earlier in the afternoon, Squiddy stumbles over what is usually a breeze of a jump, clattering his ankle on the plastic gutter. Chrissy painfully underthrows his lob of the crowbar, leaving Squiddy reaching over and clinching onto the roof ledge with the mere grip of his toes, risking everything to save his favourite toy from sinking down into the tight, dark, nettle-infested drop below. Chrissy elegantly clears the jump, with room to spare, but on landing, his maroon-red Adidas trainers and G-Star number-printed jeans sink through the rooftop. Squiddy roughly drags Chrissy out of the hole, adding needless additional scraping to his leg. Squiddy wedges the crowbar in between the wall and panel with all his might, while Chrissy plants his feet onto the scabby, pebble-dash wall and heaves on the bar from above. On sight of the boys, the rat scurries back into one of the wall's vast array of holes, distraught its long-standing free reign of the place could be over. Once a council house occupied by Squiddy's family between the ages of 2 and 5, they were evicted for perpetual loud music and shouting-related noise complaints, leaving this corner of squalor to stand empty ever since. Bare remnants of the dreary lino and hideous wallpaper only look better for a smattering of damp mould and browning. Sparks flitter around a plug as Squiddy tests the ancient, rusty microwave. To only add to Squiddy's ecstasy, their metal barrel fire pit sits intact and unmoved in the middle of the living room. 2 boxes of firelighters and 8 planks of wood nicked from a Penrose Gardeneth building site sit stacked as neatly as were left, mostly still flammable despite the minor damp damage. With the living room partially visible from the high street, they drag the pit out to Squiddy's safer old bedroom and spark a roaring fire. Quick thinking on Squiddy's part ensured he raided the kitchen for 3 boxes of frozen beef burgers, a 40p Aldi white loaf, HP brown sauce, and most crucially, the oven's middle grate. Chrissy struggles in getting through even one single patty burger, a measly meal size, even for the stick insect he is. Squiddy has no such appetite-related qualms, and scoffs down 4 brown sauce-drenched double burgers to celebrate his temporary homecoming. To wash down the salty beef, he whacks out half a bottle of Bell's whiskey, and sinks it down in under 45 minutes, frantically mosh-pitting to Queen of the Stone Age's self-titled album that screeches off his outdated phone. With no use left for the bottle, he thunders it onto the floor.
Chapter 4. Bistro I. Chrissy stood serving a family of 5 with a smart, pressed black shirt on his back and a notepad and pen in hand at Bistro I, a cheap restaurant where he now waits on.
Yes, and finally a Pinot Grigio,
says Tracy, the family's well-spoken mother, who specifically requested Chrissy as waiter for their 3rd visit running. Josephine sticks an ice cube in her younger sibling's apple juice, eager as ever to show off in front of Chrissy.
Have a bit of that. Pack it in. You won't be getting any cheesecake if you carry on.
Oh, Josephine. Could be a right disaster, that. Bit of barbecue on the side.
Not touching anything.
Chrissy's guilt spiralled following his role in Sam's demise, which subconsciously pushed him to get 2 jobs, one here and the other at the Hart pub, both being his first legitimate means of employment. Starved of drug dealing's lucrative profits, Chrissy is, however, brassic for the first time in years. Stuck in a lurch for 2 more weeks until the first paychecks, a taxi's out of the question, and he's left to trudge the 2-mile trek home through torrential rain to the Hart.
tediously left with an hour gap in between shifts to loiter. Owing to his former 4 to 7 gram a day weed habit, Chrissy's cravings remain ravenous a month later. Following a recent pledge to drastically limit his intake to a bedtime joint or two, he heads out for a quick-fire 4-fag chain smoke session to blow the last of his break. Such has his cigarette smoking level increased as his body reacclimatises to lacking cocaine and Valium. He's now resorted to smoking Benson and Hedges rolling tobacco, ditching his beloved Marlboro Gold Straights to save on money. With the 4th fag down to his last drags, a brief glance inside confirms the place is chock-a-block full of rowdy, lightweight students, as deeply dreaded. Never before working here has Chrissy set foot in a pub sober, and the place's hawk-eyed accountant cuts out all leeway in sneaking the odd pint of Leffe to get through the shifts. No sooner as Chrissy logs onto a till, old farmer's hat-wearing hunchback Gwyndav Rowland stumbles in, defying his age of 55 by presenting as a pensioner, without doubt having timed his grand arrival for the start of Chrissy's shift. Without a single formality, today's opening hot topic is Gwindav's 5 freeview picks of the week, all discussed in depth using thoroughly memorised teasers from the Sun newspaper's television pullout. Now warmed up and raring to go, Gwindav's onto his top 8 of all time freeview channels. Sky Sports News, QVC and Dave Plus One complete Gwindav's unorthodox top 3. Chrissy names Babe Station as number 1, and then channels 1 to 7 as the rest.
Didn't even think of Babe Station, lad. Fuck all that Netflix bollocks. Couple of jars instead. Won't see me paying for telly.
Gwyndav defiantly announces. Garbage, innit?
Waste of time, boy. Under Siege, yeah? And fucking On Deadly Ground. Back-to-back film 4 last night.
Thought you were die-hard talking pictures.
Right down the shitter that's gone.
No loyalty in the freeview world. Chrissy's shift continues in similarly tedious fashion as Gwyndav unloads his least favourite 5 Wu-Tang songs with surprisingly in-depth, intellectual analysis. Not a second past 11 o'clock, Chrissy risks his boss's wrath by shutting early in hope of an early night, a luxury that's been in short supply as of late. Chrissy delicately opens the front door and tiptoes upstairs. Having relinquished his wholesale dealer status, people like Gitter, Warren and Llewellyn Tick see Chrissy in an entirely different light. They simply cannot fathom why someone would give up an emerging local enterprise and sell their phone full of customers to Squiddy for £200. That's without them having a clue that he's recently started college, a fact he'll never live down if found out. But it's for that reason he's taking an early night. At least, that's what he hopes for. A 3-hour doze is all that can be mustered. Squiddy sprinting up and down the stairs 50 times to stave off an imminent heart attack while on a rough acid trip being the tip of the debauchery iceberg of things keeping him awake. When Chrissy finally emerges for breakfast before college, he finds Gitter, Jasmine, Squiddy, Llewellyn, Shane and Mikey sprawled out on the floor, all scattered around Mikey's bed among a variety of broken glass and vomit, barely affording Chrissy the space to reach his smoothie maker. Shredding of wonky strawberries, bananas and oranges abruptly awakes Gitter. He scowls and turns the other way, set for a sleep-deprived day, with a stinging head and 1p LSD still swarming through his senses. Chrissy blags his interview for the Access to Social Sciences diploma course by announcing his intention of becoming a counsellor in future, a strategy that duly worked and got him a place on the course that, if passed, will bag him a slot at university. So far, he's taken well to the first few weeks of classes, particularly thriving during psychology lessons. Their blonde curly-haired, charismatic teacher Gwen bangs on about Maslow's hierarchy of needs with its model stuck up on the blackboard. Students of a wide range of ages surround Chrissy, with most listening on intently.
And when all this has been met, a tricky feat for even the wealthiest and wisest among the shambolic excuse of a society, we have a chance to reach the legendary but still vaguely defined state of self-actualization. And what is that? Most of you will no doubt be at least here.
Gwen points at a steam on the model with a pen. Sophie Folkes, a tall, slender, dark blonde-haired attractive student, glances over and smirks subtly at Chrissy, fixated by his brown, padded second-hand leather jacket. As he eventually notices, Sophie looks down at her notes. Gwen regains her composure after being sidetracked by the pair's flittering eyes.
Simply based on having the drive to be where you are, all trying to further your lives. Some of you have left huge jobs, put financial stability on the back burner, and for that, we'll give you everything we've got to help.
When the time for a break finally beckons, Chrissy heads straight for the generic green bus shelter used as the college's smoking area. Craving some human contact, Sophie sneaks up behind, digs her hand into his pocket,
and yanks out the pouch.
Oi, oi.
Chrissy shuffles back a step in shock.
Didn't reckon you'd mind.
Fag, I don't. Violation of my personal space? Well...
Camera's pointing the other way, I'm afraid.
That's compo out the window then.
Devastating.
Sophie theatrically throws her arms into the air.
Join me for a jar after. I might just about forgive you.
Sophie smoothly lights her fag with a wry smile. There's no doubt that she'll partake, but not after making the goofball squirm a bit first. Thomas pulls into his middle-class, attached housing street in a finance-acquired black BMW after a day from hell. A migraine 3 hours in stifled his already fragile nerves on his first day back in customer attention. Before heading inside to face his toxic marriage, Thomas chains a few fags, limiting it to 3 on this occasion with his newly reduced wages firmly in mind. Connor strolls out of their house and blows Shaz a kiss by the door. Caught unaware in a basketball betting research daze, Thomas jolts up, stumps out his fag, and bursts out of the car.
How's it going, Connor? Can't thank you and the boys enough for coming another day.
Thomas vigorously shakes Connor's hand. In true attention-seeking fashion, Connor, Skilling, and Chin arrived at the funeral alongside their heftiest 18-stone cousins in a banged-up, red 90s Toyota they could barely fit in, rocking up in the last minutes before Sam's ceremony to ensure all of the 6 present were in no doubt as to their appearance.
He were our cousin.
Meant the world to our Shaz.
He were as sweet as anyone, your Sam. Never deserved that.
Proper family, you. Only one who's come to see us. We'll never forget.
Only the start.
Connor mutters as he steps closer to Thomas.
Don't you let her fucking bev like that for much longer.
Shaz sits vacantly at the table with a large 3/4 full glass of Chardonnay and a rock of hash by its side. Wearing thin pyjamas while blasting the gas fire on full whack internally grinds Thomas's gears, not least after recently treating her to 2 sets of thicker winter pyjamas. But having promised Shaz to at least cut down on the stinginess, he keeps stum. Shaz rolls a hash noodle in her fingers and dangles it into a king-size spliff without looking Thomas's way.
Early today?
He hastily unbuttons his shirt, throws it on the sofa, and storms into the kitchen.
Oh, we're going to do a wash if you leave it out back.
Surplus to requirements.
Don't tell me you've had the sack.
Back on phones.
What do you mean, back on the phones? 20 years of your life they've had. Beamer's going to have to go back then. Gardener's on the dole. Dazzling day for him and his newborn.
No, sod that. Foz will get done for diddling books again, and I'll have it to back within the year.
What daft excuse did you give them?
Could not hack all the chatter about sniffing this, chonging that, all bastard day. Now what you can do for what they chat about. So I said anyone who fails a drug test, you're out of a job.
Oh, now you decide you got a backbone, eh?
Had it, I had.
Never gave a shit till now. What have you done?
We'll make it work.
There's no graft for me till tourists are here. I'd bloody well like to know how.
Shop elsewhere of M&S. Both cut down on booze intake.
What are you trying to say?
Wouldn't be a disaster, would it?
Nerve on you today. Where did your addiction get us, eh? Telling Sam we were going fucking races. Not left to ping him over some food money. I didn't go races, and he died thinking I were part of that. We all make mistakes, Thomas. But you fucking come in here and tell me to cut down after what's just happened, and you're fucking rolling it.
He would have had anything I sent him up his hooter. Them creeps he lived with.
He only smoked green here and there.
You're off it. You believe that.
He couldn't sleep with the racket. I saw his statements the whole time. He were no fiend like us. All they had on there were food shopping deliveries. $2.20 bag a month on the 7th and 21st without fail, and no more than 4 pints when he were on the rag.
Despite banishing Thomas and his snoring to the sofa, Shaz has barely slept leading up to this dreaded police interview and can barely string a sentence together. 3 fag stumps sit in an ashtray she slowly adds to. Bert Copperfield, the sharply dressed detective sergeant sat opposite, looks on empathetically.
I've been made aware of the presence within Sam's former dwellings of a Chrissy Bray. Quite the rural bandit, someone we definitely have our eye on.
Shaz suppresses the urge to grimace and keeps a straight face.
There was also an abnormally high level of Valium in Sam's system at the time of his death. Now, when I say abnormal, I mean for a non or very occasional user. So, you're absolutely sure Sam was familiar with drugs?
Bloody right. Knew all about them from his dealing and that. Never used to take much mind. Businessman and half. But last few year, hard to say no in uni. So much of it on him and all.
Bert subtly rolls his eyes, frustrated by their lack of progress.
We had our suspicions that Chrissy, or one of his goons, may have had a hand in this, see?
Sam's life were always going to go that way. Choices he made, all his own doing. At least my lad ain't hurting now vulnerable anymore. And those boys who were selling for him, they've got a chance at life now.
Chapter 5 HMP Bedouin Special. After their introductory few jars, Chrissy and Sophie became an item from that very night, and have proven inseparable and damagingly codependent for the 5 months since. It didn't take long until Chrissy wormed himself into her friend group, with the smooth process fast-tracked by being the only one not living with parents, and subsequently having a house for them to party in after college. To accommodate this new demand while shielding the soft lot from Squiddy & Co., Chrissy's recently leased Sam's old room, paying double rent on top of that for his own. Strangely, however, he's kept the majority of it intact, including no less than Sam's 6-foot Bradford FC flag stuck up on the wall. Joining him and Sophie for today's old-school hip-hop dominated post-college bash is Lucas, a stereotypical-looking scene kid, and his darkly dressed, somewhat distant, infinity pool-obsessed girlfriend Bev. All sit in a circle drinking budget beer while playing the card drinking game Pyramid. Sophie turns over a card on tier 5. It's a 3. Chrissy has 2 3s that he chucks down before pointing at Sophie. Having 2 of them gives him the ability to designate her the entire 10 swigs, or give 5 to her and 5 to someone else. Get it down, yeah. Sophie smirks sarcastically and downs her beer without so much as a wince. Sophie turns over another tier 5 card that's a 6. She jabs Chrissy in the stomach and whacks 3 cards down on 6.
Miserable git. That'll show you.
Chrissy ferociously chugs his beer while Bev takes a light swig of hers.
Dish it out a bit. Fucking parched over here.
Lucas restlessly barks.
You don't have to wait for the game to tell you when to drink.
Bev clinically says. Lucas looks down. He takes an awkward swig of his beer. Following a night bent over the bog, chundering every quarter of an hour, Chrissy's criminally ill-prepared for his debut at Sophie's wealthy parents' oversized, oval-shaped dinner table. Overwhelmed by the £5 million house's Victorian beauty, he struggles to keep his cool during Sophie's grey-haired, condescending father Reginald's subtle grilling. Chrissy fights to keep the beef Wellington, green beans and red wine down.
So did your parents get you into social sciences, Chrissy?
We think it's terrific that Sophie's taken it up.
Well,
If you consider their alternative parenting methods sparking an overwhelming desire to learn about the mind, then I guess they did. Reginald sniggers, utterly seething at Chrissy's openness that he painfully wishes he had. Sophie chuckles, revelling in the sketchy, awkward clash of styles.
What is it that they do?
Father, as far as I know, fancies himself a bit of an old punk rocker. Mother? Well, whatever the wonderful Don tells her to. Joan chokes on a gulp of her wine and delicately wipes the droplets off her lip. Reginald grimaces and stares down at his food, already despondent about missing Channel 4 racing for this, let alone being made to feel threatened and inferior for his lack of backbone. Mikey lays on his springy mattress, pouring 2 cans of budget beer into a stein at a time. Armed with a £325 government cost of living bursary, he's primed for an all-dayer with one of his primary drinking buddy replacements, Franny Harps Harper. A scruffy, stumpy guy wearing worn-out, decades-old, low-level chav clothing. Franny vigorously chugs a can of special brew, frequently spitting through a gap in his front teeth as he rages on, over a 7-year-old, £40 ketamine debt. Chrissy's new friend group's tag-along Jack Jones, an ingenuous, colourful top-man check shirt-wearing lad, stands on the other side of the open-plan room on group food duties. Thoroughly intimidated by Franny, he anxiously spreads red pesto on tortilla wraps with a spoon.
Wouldn't have even got my dog fucked that,
Franny says,
fuming like this he was.
He theatrically bends his back and clenches his fist.
Want my water back now, and he fucking...
Franny pretends to throw a powerful knee to Mikey's head.
Little did he know.
Franny strokes his forehead.
3 metal plates. Old man used to batter him when he was 4. Little did our Baz know. Crater-faced cunt he's nutted. Straight up. And he even robbed Baz's beers before he fucked off. Baz is out like this. Snapped his kneecap. Flat in half, man.
Holy shit!
Franny chops up a few fag ends with dirty scissors to make a skinny roll-up.
Not only that, Cops Rocker won't even take the dozy cunt to A&E.
Not right, Dad. How's he now?
Fucking coma. Hell of an after-op infection.
Franny looks down with a grimace. This soon evaporates at the sight of Jack pulling 2 double tortilla-based pizzas from the oven.
No way, man. HMP Bedouin special, them.
Oh, yeah?
Jack tentatively says.
Used to cane these, lad.
Franny takes one of the pizzas.
Ever get set down, eh? Fucking like that.
He holds it in between a gap in the heater.
Keep it there 3-4 minutes.
They're cooked, mate.
I'm only showing you.
He stares down menacingly at the pizza in hand. Chrissy, Lucas and Sophie cheer on the group's star Peggle player Bev as she targets a new high score. Jack nudges his way into Sam's old room, evidently struggling as his matchstick arms tremble while holding 4 plates with a pizza on each, one of which bearing a gap-toothed bite mark.
What on earth is that savourless drivel?
Aldi Skint Lad Special. 4 pizzas, 3 bar.
Chrissy and Lucas swamp Jack, taking 3 of the plates and leaving him with the bitten pizza. He looks down before sticking it on the windowsill, praying it's swiped by a seagull or rat. Shaz vacantly sips from a bottle of Newcastle ale in a cheap, tacky service station cafe with Connor. Cars fly down the busy motorway behind her.
Can't tell you how proud I am of you,
Connor says. Shaz's face sinks.
Could have done that myself, I would have.
Tears lightly roll down Shaz's cheek.
Hey, you're done. Nailed it, you. Sit back now. Rest is sorted.
Shaz giggles and nods.
Soppiest dingbat in Bickerton history.
Uncle Todd slices your rugby ball for nicking a few egg, and you, so calm and collected here, peg it 40-odd mile to all on foot.
Weren't that far.
Freezing your little bollocks off on side of road. I think you at least rival me for that award.
After parting ways with Shaz, Connor cruises down the motorway in his new black family carrier at 80 miles an hour, with a progressively bursting, determined smile as Jimi Hendrix blasts through the speaker. Time to meet Chin and Skillin at one of their rural meeting spots, a day he's been relishing for months. A mile-long, bumpy track is all that separates him. As the bottom of the car rattles repeatedly on the jagged rocks sticking out from the shoddy farm track, Connor's customary road rage and car damage anxiety is nowhere to be seen. Chin and Skillin rock up 25 minutes late in their banged-up red Toyota. Not that Connor could care less as he embraces them both. Skillin's past a hold-all, their lifeline in form of a few ounces of weed, a half-ounce of cocaine, and a paper map of Bangor and its surrounding villages, where Chin and Skillin are to temporarily relocate. Their collective plan? A simple one. Slowly ruin Chrissy's life, ensuring he got off scot-free with the police being their perfect start. Connor's undertaken extensive research on the area, Chrissy's habits, where he lives, the absolute lot. Now, it's down to Skillin and Chin to build on that knowledge by initially scoping the area out, with hope that their drugs serve as a gateway into the dealing community and act as a connection maker. Connor hands over the people carrier's keys, which they will be allowed to keep long after the mission. Skillin's on driving duty, as per Connor's strict request, who, as another gift, secretly left dozens of cartons of Pall Mall fags stuffed into the open glove compartment and boot, a gesture Skillin takes full advantage of as he tears open his second pack before passing Krill on the A55, a mere 3 hours in. Chin carefully crafts paper maps of their key Bangor checkpoints, given both are fiercely instructed to use their mobiles as sparingly as possible.
What if we go bare instinctual and that?
Skillin suddenly says, having been left a quiet space to ponder. Chin restlessly looks up, having been burst out of his deep focus.
Just fucking scran dirt cheap little tins of food. All I'm thinking, live all minimal, and all we have to do is sling a few .6s to some little gimps.
No way about it, Skill. You're doing the gear this time?
Bagheads, oh man. Nightmare they are. Last time, this bird, right? You know that horrible drizzly summer he sent me soul? She were alright and that, you know. Pretty fit if she hadn't been a baghead. Anyway, all over me she were. So I thought, fuck it and let her have a way with me. Didn't charge her out for a bit of while. She were worth it, fair play. Blowjob at month, maybe even year.
Chin lets that sit, and it proves to be their last collective word uttered until reaching Bangor, 40 minutes of 90 mile an hour speeding later. They park a few minutes walk away from base camp, and after a strenuous lug of their suitcases and bags, Chin smashes through the glass pane door.
One Squiddy had only days ago painstakingly patched up with knowledge from a YouTube tutorial.
Owing to a semi-sturdy plank bridge laid by Squiddy, neither has to deal with clearing the 3-metre ledge. Chin grimaces at the dreary pit as he rids his aching shoulders of the heavy bags' burden. Skillin stumbles on one of the floorboard's litany of holes as the heavy bags pull him to the floor. He wipes the dusty debris off his white hoodie and leans against the battered, mouldy cream wall. They abandon plans of a Netflix binge with Tesco Meat Feast pizza after thinking better of testing the questionable safety of the oven's electrics. Instead, opting for a well-deserved few pints and to scope out Skerries, where they're pleasantly surprised by the dirt-cheap prices. It's as busy and rowdy as any pub they've set foot in, given the fiercely contested, weekly £30 jackpot pub quiz being in its final category. Limited to a local village pub a 10-mile round trip away back in their hometown, the bustle of Skerries slightly overawes the pair for 10 minutes or so. Skillin's fury at waiting 15 minutes to be served vanishes when not asked to present ID by the barman. A proud first-time feat.
You wouldn't have made out of the other lads' kip there, man.
Chin insists.
Best ones for the job, my arse.
Skillin mutters. Chin spots Chrissy lounged back in a cubicle with Sophie, both chatty and cheerful, despite depriving one another of any sleep last night. He stares at them while sipping his Carlsberg before he and Skillin head out to the bustling backyard. Another culture shock awaits as the place is stacked with 7-pint-deep skaters and rockers reaping harmless havoc. They find a spot opposite a heavily made-up, blonde-haired girl Mared, who sat alone smoking in a black dress. Despite being in a new, happy relationship, Skillin spends the next half hour trying his luck, playing the Ghibli concerned protector.
But to come out by yourself, what are you thinking?
Nothing happens to you here.
Mared snaps back, far from relishing the attention.
So what? You walk here and back, all on your little lonesome?
Few miles, eh? And what?
You were my missus, I'd be dead worried me.
Gitto wobbles around after a tad too much ketamine, working his way through every individual table, asking if there's any decent green or bash about, in the hope of straightening out his spinning head. Chin fixates on him. Could be just the docile little prick they need to get things moving. Skillin ignores Chin's tap of the shoulder.
Mate!
Chin barks.
What?
Any green or bash about?
Gitto asks a nearby table. Chin shrugs his shoulders as Skillin smirks, rolls up his sleeves, and struts over to Gitto. After bringing out all the tricks that earned him his secondary school nickname Slick Skillin, Gitto soon won over with the aid of 3 cocaine tasters. Within a few keys, Gitto snaps up a gram, and after claiming to have missed the last bus back to their hotel, Chin and Skillin are welcomed back to his family home for an all-nighter on the lines and beers. Skillin takes the opportunity to bag up a few ounces of their weed into grams, asserting his presence and testing Gitto's boundaries, scoping out what use he might be to them. Dawn sunlight soon withers through the grisly North Wales rain clouds. Gitto's hyperactive, primary school-age siblings getting ready for their day dishes them a rude awakening of the imminent stinging come-down bound to blight their next day or two. All the more reason to keep it going, as Gitto devours the penultimate line of his second gram bag of the night.
Proper gearhead. We don't even have a dealer.
Not a good one anyway. Bastard retired.
Chin perks right up. There can't be many retired dealers in the area, so they may well have found a Chrissy inside knowledge goldmine on day one. Gitto offers the plate to Chin, who politely shakes his head. Gitto's accommodating mother, Jean, sheepishly knocks on the door, and they snap into action, shoving all their cocaine plates under the bed.
I've done you all fry-ups.
Jean muffles through the closed door.
Can you leave them outside, please?
Sure.
Diolch, Mum.
Ta, Jean.
Yeah, spot on, Jean.
Sensing old Jean's now out of earshot, Gitto snorts his last line as a small bag of weed lands on his lap.
Nice one.
Can I bag a few more up?
Yeah. Whatever, sure.
Chin offers Gitto a fag.
Nice one.
Chin keeps the box held dangled over towards Gitto.
Have the lot, mate.
Yeah?
Gitto cautiously takes the pack and smiles, visibly enjoying the first toke of his night's 30th fag.
Used to graft for Chrissy a bit, you know.
Proper grafter you then?
I'd like to think so. Was until he went all boring. Miserable fox, now one of them narcotic anonymous pricks.
Can't be having that.
I know. Now, I can't get any myself. Fuck all dank enough to keep up my rep anyway.
Gitto wipes smash off his leather jacket.
Now you do.
Gitto smiles.
Just a shame is all. 'Cause he used to have mad sessions, he did. The place to be. Like no other. Now he's snoozing early, fucking smoothie in the morning, bagged a bird who can barely handle a jar. What the fuck? How do you change so dramatically?
Anyone else there kept it going or what?
Oh yeah, his old mate's still well on it. You boys are sessions, eh?
On that note, they head down to the town centre, where the sesh never stops. True to its reputation, the door's unlocked, and to Gitto's relief, Mikey and Franny are spending this morning right on the gin. Gitto powers ahead, leaving Chin the chance to peek through the unclosable door's gap of Sam's old room, and in doing so, can't believe his luck. Chrissy's out at college. Never had he thought they'd get so far on day one. Pretending to have been for a piss, Chin adjusts his belt while trundling back into the kitchen, where Mikey and Franny barely notice his presence. Gitot, Chin and Skillin form an expectant crowd to their sloppy round of kitchen boxing, both a shadow of their usual selves after necking 4 Xanax each only hours ago. Chin looks on pitifully at the pair, itching to take them on and show them a real boxer. Sensing the crowd passively urging him forward, Franny throws a powerful overhand right, but Mikey ducks. As his head bounces back up, Mikey lands a hard straight to Franny's bladder, sending him crashing to his feet in agony.
Oh, low blow that lad. TKO, TKO.
Franny jumps to his feet, the sense of injustice seeing him fully healed in an instant.
No fucking way, man. TKO my ass.
Within kitchen boxer remit, I'm afraid.
Skillin interjects.
Had you up on points the lot.
Fuck off, Harps, lad. Piss off and get this tumpies in. Oldie's been open an hour, boy.
Mikey chugs Carlsberg out of a brimming 2-litre jug. Chin takes his chance in the midst of Franny's wild protestations and sneaks out, quietly shutting the kitchen door as he tiptoes to Sam's old room. Using a code on a list full of Chrissy's passwords compiled by Connor with the help of a Fiverr freelancer, Chin logs onto Chrissy's laptop. Nationwide is the first stop, and to his bemusement, is allowed straight into Chrissy's account. It doesn't take long to find what he needs, and Chin scribbles down Chrissy's customer number and login details. With time in the bank, it's time for a bit of extracurricular digging beyond that asked of him by Connor. Chin comes across a notepad titled NA Diary Organizer, Pathway to Progress, and chuckles at a frilly 3D heart sketch with Sophie written in the middle. After ripping a few useful pages out, he gets up to leave before recalling the exercise's most crucial aspect: surveillance. Chin hides a tiny camera amongst a few of Sam's football-themed hardback books and tests the connection out to an app on his phone, hopefully giving them unbridled 24/7 access. Shaz braves the bitter cold while chopping small pieces of firewood with a miniature axe in her sloped garden as Bob Dylan's album Desire plays off her phone. Just as her favourite song Oh Sister starts, the phone rings, which means, owing to her OCD, she'll have to replay the album from the start. She stops axing, sighs after seeing it's Thomas, rips a glove off with her teeth and answers the call. Thomas is sitting in a busy and smoky Mallorca pub's beer garden after taking a trip away with his redundancy payment. Scarlet-faced after necking 4 pint cans in an hour and a half.
Promising Bradford student drug dealer pays the ultimate price for washing Bangor with drugs. His mother Sharon Sullivan was quoted as saying he'd always had a secret life littered in the consumption and distribution of narcotics. I feared this day would come.
Thomas fiercely reads from the newspaper.
That desperate for few bob, eh? Lying fucking cow.
Bit more to it than that.
How could you? That greasy Bangor fuck supplies the end of our son's life. Get away with it, does he? No prison, why? Us are made out to be shitty parents, on record, forever. You wait till I get back.
The only shitty parent were you. Absent when needed. Fruitless, sorry, pain in the fucking arse when not. We don't deal with police. My family. Forget, don't you? All of my heritage you tried stripping of me, that I let you? Not this fucking time. No police, Thomas. You don't want to go there.
Tired of both the house's stench and Franny's yammering, this time about how the 1984 Commonwealth Games boxing judges all deserve the death penalty for cheating banger boxer Dave Davis out of a gold medal, Chin and Skilling call it a night and stumble out of Chrissy's house. An icy gust of wind ignites the shivering tingle of Skilling's brutal, ominous come-down, and he zips up his hoodie to stave it off. Chrissy, Lucas, Bev, Sophie and Jack head towards the house carrying shopping bags full of booze. As they pass by, Sophie jumps on Jack's back and he drops the bag. Chrissy glares at Sophie in horror.
Last of my EMA, that.
Jack melts down in a dramatic hissy fit.
Can tell you didn't cough up. Carelessness or what?
Didn't say shit when you chugged my 80 quid plum wine, did I, Jack Jones? 3
bloody weeks it took to ship in more.
Skilling glances admiringly at Sophie's arse as she stomps her way to the shop in a huff. Bringing back 1.5 litres of vodka ensures any bad blood is swiftly buried, as all immediately neck 3 shots each and engage in a round-robin arm wrestling tournament. Using sports science theories as an excuse, Chrissy massages Sophie's neck before her every match, only to be embarrassingly caught doing so as Squiddy stumbles into the room. Fresh from an all-night solo rave, he's spangled drunk with a nasty snarl, stopping everyone in their tracks as this alpha male whirlwind infiltrates their space.
Wrong room.
Chrissy lightly grapples Squiddy in an attempt to push him out. Squiddy ferociously resists and powers forward.
Fuck that. Coming in here. I'm coming in here to sesh with the hippies. Mikey's in the other room, man. Fuck Mikey. And that assault by penetration little fuck he's with. I'm chilling with the hippies. All right.
Everyone wearily looks away, praying they don't lock eyes with Squiddy in a unanimous downturn of the collective atmosphere. Squiddy stuffs his hand in the ashtray, picks out Jack's fag and another smaller dimp, puts them in his mouth, and while attempting to light both with the same flame, the smaller dimp falls on the floor. Struggling to maintain balance, he stumbles into the bookshelf and punches its side. After glancing at the books, then over to Chrissy, he scoffs before grabbing out Fever Pitch and inverting the pyramid.
Hippie Student of the Year, UI. Oh, I did hear I was nominated. Been telling these like you're a footy lad, have you?
Chrissy grimaces and takes a swig of vodka.
Bradford AFC all the way.
Bradford C. Bradford C. Bradford C. Is he fuck?
Jack has revelled in the delight of finally knowing another Bradford fan, having been bullied during his time at Ysgol-de-Ffynogwen for supporting such a minnow of a club. With Chrissy and his dream local alliance now proven a sham, Jack glares bitterly his way.
Quite the sober student radicaliser over here. Cunt who died right there on his gear certainly thought so. A menace to the vulnerable, a wise district judge once claimed. Went a bit far, didn't you, though? Keeping his room the same. I mean, fuck it, actually. Why not? Family didn't give enough of a rat's ass to come and get anything themselves. Even got away with this one. Lives to tell the tale in the boy's old room. No cops or nothing. Fair play to the lad. Fucking leave it. It's sound though. He's over the worst of it. 3-week Valium binges. A thing of the past. Won't happen to any of you. Unless he gets back on the dealing.
Thomas pulls up outside his house, miserable after a clearly awkward, unsuccessful interview for a post office managerial job, one he zoomed straight to a mere half hour after landing back in the UK. Stuck for any other clothing options, he arrived in what is now an undersized blue tuxedo jacket. Little did he know that his recently acquired beer belly made him look a clown in the thing, a factor he believes sealed his gloomy fate before a question was asked. To make matters worse, a huge sold for sale sign awaits him, as well as 25 bin bags of his stuff sprawled out on the front lawn. Shaz had a productive 2 weeks in Thomas's absence. When a buyer swooped in after 3 days of the house's listing, she bit their hand off to set herself up financially for life and move back home to Bickerton, where she belongs. Overwhelmed by the demands on his wilting body, Skillin's taken his first rest day of the mission, bringing him and Gittel's 12-day session streak to an end. Not that there's much choice, with his serotonin-sapped soul only complicating nasty vertigo when walking. Such frailties make simply heading out for shopping a no-go, and with base camp no longer counting as an official address, even a barbecue chicken pizza takeaway's out of contention. Skillin lies vacantly in a bookshelf, scrolling through his phone when he opts for a spell of live Chrissy surveillance. Great timing. He jolts up in excitement, scraping his head on the shelf, having caught Chrissy and Sophie right in the thick of it. Their planted camera proving perfectly placed for Skillin to indulge his eyes on Chrissy shagging Sophie from behind. A strange mark on Sophie's leg revolts him, and unable to walk back into the action, he zooms in and closely examines the scar, Just the ammunition needed to smash a gaping hole in Chrissy's new life. Squiddy lies passed out on the kitchen floor, still out cold from Chrissy's sucker punch 15 minutes later. A small blood trail leads from Sam's old room, where he was dragged face down from by his legs in Chrissy's desperate attempt to revive the party's vibe. Copious collective panic attacks ensured nobody took Chrissy up on an apologetic free takeaway. All dashed home to throw up and compile righteous, multi-platform social media posts, chronicling the first dash of violence of their sheltered lives. Not that Chrissy and Sophie overly mind, with it providing an unexpected opportunity for Chrissy to finally give her one from behind, something he's been chomping at the bit for a chance to do. Sophie's wild, exaggerated moaning partly contributes to Squiddy's rude awakening. He grunts as his eyes slowly flicker open and stumbles back into the bin on standing. After eventually regaining composure, Squiddy squares towards Chrissy's room. Undeterred by his precarious vulnerability, he plants 2 sucker punches downwards as Chrissy lays back, starry-eyed, fresh from the orgasm of a lifetime. Sophie screams as Squiddy scoops the room's ashtray fag dimps into his hand and storms out. Despite visceral embarrassment regarding his black eye and barely noticeable chipped tooth, Chrissy wakes up the next day and braves it out to Marks and Spencer's for his weekly shop, the only place he'll now go for food. Plenty of apples and bananas for the smoothie machine are among a mound of fruit and veg items. Lastly, he puts down an exotically coloured, frilly bouquet of flowers for Sophie.
6786, please.
After a swift contactless tap, Chrissy's horrified to see his card declined. What a fucking disaster. He should have hundreds in there after 2 paychecks this week. Chrissy abandons the shopping and bombs it home, distraught to be left with a measly frozen pepperoni pizza of Squiddy's. Despite the inevitable incoming wrath, Chrissy pops the stingy topping pizza in the oven while patiently waiting in a nationwide customer service queue.
Hello, this is Jay from Nationwide. My apologies for any delays in our service today. Am I speaking to Christopher?
Loud roaring from Squiddy's room blurs Chrissy's hearing. He shuffles out into the backyard and lights a fag.
Hi, is there anyone there?
Don't go, fuck's sake. Only an hour and a half to get through.
Okay, my apologies for that. How can I help you today, Christopher?
My account has been frozen.
Let me just look into that. Ah, yes. There is a pending fraud investigation into suspicious activities on your account.
You what?
I can't tell you any more than that, Christopher, but rest assured, your frozen funds will be made immediately available to you upon the investigation's conclusion.
Breaking any submission to the demands of his harrowing come-down, Skillin summons Chin after breakfast for a spontaneous sesh on the rum at Gitto's. Knowing the lightweight will be reluctant, they hand Gitto a full bottle of lambs at the door, which swiftly quashes any qualms. After smashing through 3/4 of their bottles each within a couple of hours, Skilling gleefully recalls the last few days of Chrissy gossip while crushing up a rock of high-purity MDMA.
Hey mate, and he fucking writes a little love poems in that as well, don't he?
What? Chrissy fucking Bray?
Chin flicks out his phone with a picture of the poem, but can't read more than a couple of words without howling.
You do it, Skill.
Skilling gladly obliges, buzzing for his first stab at a poetry recital since primary school assembly.
Curse my life before you, wicked and oblique. Thought I was the bollocks, but out of disguise, I was just meek.
He swigs rum straight from the bottle.
All that bullshit bravado, insecure and brash. But not anymore, Sophie. My tough streak you have smashed.
Skilling and Chin cry out in high-pitched, barely audible laughter while Gitto scowls, thoroughly shocked to the core. A sense of resentment overcomes him. Resentment at having looked up to someone capable of such sickening, soppy drivel. Skilling heads out to the nearby 7-Eleven shop for a booze top-up. Place far pricier than Asda, which sits only 200 extra metres away, but with Connor paying, a few extra quid to save a 200-metre trek seems trivial. He holds bottles of Sailor Jerry's rum and Potoki vodka, torn between the two. Mixing vodka with the rum just sunk will surely provide the most immediate satisfaction. But another 2 days curled up in a ball, stuck in that horrible squat, hardly bears considering. High-pitched bells rattle on the shop door as Sophie enters,
Good evening, Miss Sophie.
Manny, the suave, young Asian shopkeeper, says with a cheeky grin.
Evening, Squire.
Well, my day just got better.
Now, this gets Sophie's attention, and she peeks back with flittering eyes befitting of her flattery en route to the wine section. Skillin's head's completely gone. Slightly nervous for his big moment, he gazes manically through the booze section as Sophie trawls through the wine, meticulously tallying up the least scammy of all prices. After Sophie eventually settles for 2 bottles of rosé, Skillin pays for a litre of gin in such a rush to follow her down a dark, quiet alleyway that he gifts Manny the £7 change. He whacks up his white and gold hoodie's hood, lightly grabs her arm, shoves her against the wall, and rips out her headphones.
Fucking let me go. Now.
Oh, yeah.
My partner will tear you a new one.
Only wanted an update on matey Shiner.
Do anything to me. Be more than a shiner you'll be dealing with.
Look, you grand. Won't go near you with that sordid mess on your leg.
You fucking what?
I can filter it out on my phone, see, when I'm watching you at it.
Skillin slowly lets go of Sophie. She spits in his face and scampers away.
Nice meeting you.
He wipes the spit off his face, takes a swig of vodka, and proudly struts off. Lugging a stacked plate of steaming hot chicken wings, Chrissy merrily bumbles back into Sam's old room. His joy is short-lived, however, as Sophie chucks her belongings furiously into a hold-all bag.
Have a nice laugh with the boys, did you? Telling them about my past.
Fuck's going on here?
Only fucking weasel I've told is you. They'll all be Googling it now, I bet. Sophie, satanic torture, North Wales, and they'll find it. First thing that comes up.
Babe, you've lost me.
Get fucked. Giving it all large that you're no longer a rotter, and you let some greasy little drip film us fucking. Be exactly why you point me up against that unsightly flag, so I can't see their little heads poking through the window filming it.
Who are you on about, Soph? Tell me now.
It's fine. Just promise that if you make any money from it, that you ping me over a taste.
Sophie unloads a barrage of stiff punches, barely moving Chrissy, yet opening cuts above his eye and upper lip.
Spend yours at the fucking dentist.
Once she starts aiming for his precious teeth, Chrissy grabs Sophie's wrists and lands a savage backhand slap that draws blood from her mouth. Sophie swiftly leaves after spitting blood on and kicking the fridge. While somewhat dismayed, on the forefront of Chrissy's mind isn't the demise of his first stable relationship, but that of how yet another bashed-up face will look. With tomorrow's afternoon bistro shift looming, he spends the entire night chain-smoking blunts and compulsively checking the bruising level every half an hour. By morning, he makes an executive decision to call up sick. Bistro Eye's owner and manager, Gerald, lies in a state of pure bliss. An aggressive back massage off a Thai masseuse is just what the doctor ordered to kickstart a weekend on the piss at Blackpool Darts.
Eye infection,
Gerald mutters with a colossal scowl. He raises his hand, and the masseuse stops digging into his back.
I suppose. It won't look great, will it? I do hope you've been keeping a hygienic home. Self-inflicted, I bet. Unprofessional, if you ask me. Skive timing could not be worse.
Chin perches eagerly by Chrissy's door, having snuck off from Mikey's room, listening in on the entire conversation while carefully sipping a bottle of Beck's.
First shift and he's by himself?
Chrissy says in a panic.
Wow, well, what I can tell you is that Tuesdays have been proper steady lately. Won't scare him off, I'm sure. Oh yeah. I'll be giving Graham the ultimate induction as soon as I'm back.
Chrissy assures Gerald as Chin swaggers back into the debauchery of the kitchen's 48-hour deep sesh. Warren, Brandon, Jasmine and her industrial, fierce 17-year-old friend Cody sit around a table at Bistro Eye. All are dressed in uncharacteristically smart clothing, chinos and crew neck knits for the lads, and respectable dresses for the girls. Warren and Brandon have their hair gel to the side in pathetic attempts at comb-overs. They pick at their chicken wing starters, of which there are 8 servings as well as 4 apiece of chips and onion rings, and devour their 750ml bottles of Leffe. Catalogue of botched pint pouring attempts has left the tidy tablecloth with a plethora of stains. Warren meticulously rolls a fag from the crumbs of his tobacco pouch, dropping most of the dust into the slowly drying beer stains. Their ingenuous, lanky waiter sporting a long blonde side fringe edges nervously towards their table.
Give me the red salt, now.
Cody demands as she reaches over the table and knocks over Brandon's leffet.
Cody, fucking monged, man.
Brandon shouts before quickly simmering down as Graham approaches.
Graham, how are you, lads?
Jasmine theatrically asks.
This will no doubt be of disappointment, but we are out of peri-peri chicken.
No way! Knew something like this would happen.
Never has Warren had anything else bar chicken from a restaurant before.
Don't know anything else on the menu, though, no.
All gonna have to have the lobster Newburgs, Graham Law.
You and your fucking Newburgs, man.
8 of them should do.
Don't be bringing me that.
Well, issues with our suppliers mean we can only offer 2 lobster Newburgs per order.
Yes!
Joke shop.
You're a disgrace, Graham. You know that.
Gonna have to be 4 XL kebab burger meals. 4 more lefties as the drinks.
Whispering Angels as well, yeah?
4 of them as well.
Sure. I'm just wondering, would they usually take proof of ID and a deposit? You know, for it being such a hefty order.
What do you mean ID? BMX silver medal at the Olympics is my ID.
Uh-oh. I might just phone the boss.
Don't embarrass yourself, Graham, mate. Chrissy's here every day. His boss knows us. And the thousands we spend in here.
Won't be long.
Graham politely smiles and scuttles off to the kitchen. Warren theatrically imitates Graham's footsteps as he heads to the nearest window. In the second the kitchen door shuts, Warren cracks it open and lights a fag with his head stuck out. Chrissy pants heavily with static tears in his eyes while awkwardly slumped upright on Sam's old bed. A decade-long abstinence has been obliterated as red raw knife wounds sit pretty on his shoulder once again. Never did he expect to break this promise to himself, one made after taking the anguish of being dumped for a crusty local level book DJ out on his own arms and legs. Exhilaration from the cut's sting as sliced, gushing endorphins around his hapless soul has proven somewhat of a temporary release for all the pent-up self-loathing. When this soon wears off, all he can think about are the early days, back when a self-harm routine commenced in the faintest of hopes his mother might hear him grimace and rush to his aid. But she never did. Having already gone all out, Chrissy decides tonight is the time he says, "Fuck this," and finally caves in on his half-year cocaine drought. Months on the relative straight and narrow fly out the window as he bashes up a line next to the bloody knife just used to slice his stricken shoulder. With 3 college essays due in the coming days, another cash point trip will be necessary, especially at the pace he's flying through this gram. Squiddy's low-level talcum powder stuffed gear will have to do, for now. A gram for each essay all-nighter might just cut it. Unwilling to tuck into his food out of principle, Warren slouches back in his seat, fresh from caning a fat skunk and hash King Ale spliff, while the others gorge on their feasts.
I reckon, yeah, Cody's getting sent down first out of all of us.
Nah, hasn't even been on probation though, no?
Yeah, but she's by far the biggest dafty.
Warren spots Graham outside, blowing smoke rings into the air, lost in his own dreamy world.
Hey, now! Let's fucking bounce!
Warren leaps out of his seat. Brandon jumps up and heads towards the back door, while Jasmine and Cody take their escape in a leisurely manner.
What about all this?
Cody points at the mounds of various food and drink still left.
Take the beer then. Quick!
Brandon and Warren anxiously wait on the tip of their toes as Cody throws the food remnants in a carrier bag, and Jasmine frantically searches for the wine bottle caps. Swiftly losing patience with the slugs, Warren and Brandon bomb it out into the pre-planned exit point and over the place's slightly arched shed roof. Warren jumps onto the wall and flamboyantly flicks his leg over the fence. His jump's wild, uncontrolled trajectory sends him within a whisker of slicing an arm on barbed wire, instead catching his jumper's sleeve as he dangles a few feet off the floor. Brandon giggles as Warren carelessly flails his arm to release himself, further ripping the jumper.
Wait there now!
Marshalled by Brandon, they take the dingy, needle-ridden pathway over Bangor Mountain to Gitto's Maesgerchan flat. Chin and Skillin nervously await, and after they arrive and outlay their triumph, Chin sits back and lights a cigarello cigar, thoroughly relieved. Reaping havoc at Chrissy's place of work has gone to plan. Boy, did those delinquent drips deliver. They change back into their standard roadman tracksuits, returning the clothing lent to them by Chin and Skillin. All items bought with their MDMA profits from TK Maxx specifically for the job. As Warren and Brandon trundle back in from the bathroom, Chin's waiting with a fierce glare, desperate to throttle the disrespectful dingler.
What's this?
Chin asks, pointing to the ripped jumper.
Oh, I dunno, yeah.
Warren lobs the greasy carrier bag of leftover food on Gitto's bed.
How do you not know?
Oh, mate, they're gimpy little clothes. Who gives a fuck?
No.
Chin slowly takes 4 packets of fags out of the sleeve as he talks.
They're business assets.
Chin passes the ravaged sleeve of fags to Warren. Each were promised a full carton for their work. Jasmine and Cody stumble out of the bathroom, now changed into bright pink tracksuits and chugging wine from the bottle. Chin passes a full sleeve of fags over to Brandon, who examines it in awe, having never seen so many fags in one place.
How about, I have the extra fags for fucking makeup fees and all that grub I bought back for you.
Chin pedantically opens the food bag with the tip of his finger and grimaces at the messy doner meat, chicken wing and onion ring mashup. Gitto springs up off the bed.
That's food. Get that greasy shit off my bed, now.
Warren lobs the bag out of the window, and its contents sprawls out on the edge of the already unkempt, weedy pavement. Over the next few days, seagulls and pigeons form a mini colony of grateful scavengers, all picking at the food until a street sweeper blows it away. Chapter 6.
Bring keg in. Struggling to keep his eyes open after 2 sleepless days, Chin pulls up outside of Chrissy's in the people carrier just as the clock turns 3 a.m. He clicks on a phone document titled Work and College Schedule and zooms in on the next day, which states Bistro 6 a.m. to 9 a.m, College 10 a.m. to 3 p.m, Heart 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. Perfect. He's timed it just late enough so that Chrissy won't get back to sleep before his 5:15 a.m. alarm. It's not long before Chrissy's room light flickers on, quickly followed by Squiddy poking his head out of the top floor window with a grizzled glare. Squiddy dashes away and returns with 4 glass bottles as he lobs at Chin's car. As glass trickles in through the open sunroof, Chin hurtles off. Chrissy's distraught to have been picked as the first to deliver his class presentation. Discerning glares have flown his way from all angles on his first day back at college after waiting for his face wounds to heal. Stumbling through his first few slides of the hierarchy of credibility, he eventually finds some momentum, having found a way to keep Sophie, Lucas and Bev out of eyeshot.
And in the absence within these small areas of accessible experts, your typical positive influencers,
Chrissy attempts to stifle his cold sweat by ripping off his striped Tommy Hilfiger jumper. He briefly reveals his shoulders, and while most aren't paying attention to the stuttering presentation, Gwen fixates on the fresh, thin red knife wounds.
Our unofficial local expert, i.e. in this case, a dealer, develops unbridled power to define to their customers and skeptics of their unsavoury ways what is true. They'll say things like that it's alright to smash a load of Valium when you've been coked up a few days, and it's sound just to sell a little bit of gear. If it's to your mate, you're helping him out, because it's my bulk you're selling him, the good stuff. And if you don't, they'll just be getting baby powder down the road.
Lucas scoffs. He's heard enough.
Shame your victims aren't here to benefit from such empowering natter.
A scattering of audible sniggering ripples through the classroom as Chrissy clenches his fists. Never in the past would he put up with such lip and humiliation. Gwen sternly glares at Lucas.
Bit rich coming from the walking encyclopedia of illegal football streams. Still scamming delivery 3 times a week, I presume? Burger fell apart in the bag?
Lucas's righteous smirk vanishes as he sinks drearily into his seat. On a rare night back at the squat, Skillin's fast asleep, rinsed full of Valium to help dream his way through the come-down of his latest 7-day speed and ketamine binge. However, Skillin's fallen off the rails without his alpha male, older relatives keeping him in line. Chin certainly thinks so, and fearing they'll be replaced for the job, he's kept news of Skillin's scatty state to himself. Llewellyn Tick and Shane raucously devour a bottle of gin in a nearby shop doorway. For hours on end, they've relived what feels like their lives' worth of fighting scenarios with passionate running commentary to Chin's sleep-deprived fury. After Skillin passed out on his carefully curated, makeshift bed with a £1.50 charity shop sofa cushion, he's been left with a single, half-inch thick exercise mat and Skillin's sweaty, inferior sleeping bag. 3 cracks from the back door send shockwaves through Chin's spine. After another, he jumps up, turns on a battery-powered lamp, tiptoes over to Skillin's bed, and vigorously shakes him by the shoulders, knowing only an almighty effort snaps him out of his deep Valium kip.
Skillin!
Chin slaps Skillin around the face, and he partially opens his red eyes in a dizzy daze. And within seconds, Ben and Squiddy burst in as Skillin stumbles to his feet.
Where are your fucking tunes now?
Squiddy roars.
Ben heads straight for Chin while Squiddy rains down repeated ferocious power hooks on Skillin's head. Only 3 are needed to send Skillin crashing back to sleep by clattering his head into the wall, chipping the wilted plastering before sprawling out on the floor. After an even exchange of hooks at close quarters, Chin rocks Ben with an uppercut to the jaw that sends him stumbling backwards. Squiddy charges in and knees are now cornered Chin on the side of the head. A trickle of blood drips down his cheek as he fights to keep his footing.
Banger's mine, mate. No more grafting, no more tunes.
Ben gouges Chin's eye, who takes the pain well, considering.
Better not make me have to remind you.
Squiddy revels in Chin's vulnerability and picks up an open box of crystal MDMA.
Blammer!
Ben turns back on the way out and boots Chin in the gut as he leans against the wall off balance. Squiddy lands a parting dollop of phlegm right on Chin's head as he cowers in the corner. Fulfilled by their night's work, Ben and Squiddy strut off for a night of 3 lines, when after somehow finding a second wind, Chin spits out a chunk of blood, takes a deep breath, and with all his strength, ushers them over with a steely, wild glare.
Fucking come on then, both of you.
First, he goes for Squiddy, and a flush hook on the jaw sends him flailing backwards out through the battered glass door and onto the roof ledge. Not one for a feeling out process, Chin continues the momentum by landing a stiff jab on Ben's temple. Entirely unmoved, Ben fires back as they trade gnarly hooks. And after a brutal 30-second brawl, Chin rocks Ben for the first time. Ben wipes his twitching, bloody eyes as he stumbles backwards. He whacks out a small knife hidden in his sock. While Ben's exemplary fist-fighting skills mean it's rarely brandished, he cannot stand the thought of losing a fight. And having met his match, he stabs Chin in the shoulder. After edging back to the door, Ben runs off, leaving Squiddy sprawled out in the cold, alone.
This is a final warning the boys duly take, despite Skillin's Valium-clouded memory sparing him all but a few blurry moments of the ordeal. Gerald miserably sifts through a mountain of paperwork at his oversized desk after a rare holiday blighted by work-related distractions. After an awkward minute of waiting, Chrissy tentatively enters.
Chrissy,
Gerald sarcastically says.
Gerald, how's the new pool treating you?
Gerald slaps down the paperwork and sighs.
I've been having some trouble financially. Problems with the bank and that, and well, see, I'm proper strapped until payday.
Right.
Is there a chance at all you could do me in advance?
Gerald grimaces.
Well, we've had a bit of a wacky week here, what with the buckets of cancelled reservations.
I was only thinking maybe a oneer, if that's okay.
Not only that, but over the 4 days you've had on the sick, we've had no less than 4 different groups of duck and divers, taking us for well over $2,000.
Strange one. Do you know who they are?
They bloody well know who you are.
What?
First lot, grubby little oiks. Graham should have spotted a mile off, new to the job or not.
Tell me who they are then, and...
Prick. Don't you dare pretend you don't know. Fucking advance. You're sacked is what you are.
This is bullshit, Gerald. I'll get a lawyer involved.
Already put on the blower to Gaz. Don't think you're getting any more shifts down the ARP.
Rain trickles through gaps in the ceiling, dropping down onto the medical kit neatly laid out as Skillin stitches Chin's shoulder wound. Despite Skillin's shaky hand and firmly shut left eye obscuring half his vision, Chin barely flinches as the third stitch is stuck on. Skillin's father taught him stitching, a skill he honed as the long-time chief medic of the Barry and Price family's monthly unlicensed bare-knuckle scraps. Chin holds the phone to his ear as Connor takes what feels like an age to pick up.
We've got to move forward, we have. We can't be here much longer.
Course you fucking can. Who's saying that?
A fucking gaping 5-stitch shiv wound down my arm.
Such is Connor's unbridled rage. Chin's phone screeches, and unable to take the racket, he turns the volume down to 4%. A week. He angrily and silently mouths to Skillin before hanging up. Helped by his little friends Ritalin and cocaine, Chrissy has scraped a pass on his college course, a feat that's bagged him a spot on next year's Bangor University psychology programme. Stemming from an irrational fear of not finding a dealer elsewhere, he's abandoned his initial plan to study in England. To celebrate, it's the end-of-year class gathering as the students sip vodka and Pepsi from plastic cups while toasting their academic futures. Sophie pours herself the communal litre of vodka's dregs when she spots Chrissy leaning gloomily against the wall in a black jumper, worn in hope of hiding this morning's fresh cutting. She scowls at his nihilistic moping and briskly moves on. Gwen trundles in, lugging a 20 crate of Budweiser, understandably met by loud cheers as a bustle ensues for the crate. Gwen spots Chrissy and heads over with a beer, only for Jack to intercept her en route, locking her in a tight hug.
Thanks for everything, Gwen. You're a legend.
Oh, we got you there in the end, didn't we, Jack? Now, don't be blowing your student loans on prosies, alright?
I won't.
Green's much better for you.
Gwen heads over to Chrissy with a beaming, welcoming smile and hands him a beer.
Well done, Chrissy! I had you written off, I'll admit. But you're a credit to yourself.
That means a lot.
She shakes Chrissy's hand.
All the best, Chrissy!
Gwen walks off after a brief, eerie silence. Chrissy spots Jack jealously peeking over, and they exchange awkward eye contact.
Whole class is heading down to Academy after cheese night.
Right, sound. Nice one, though. Proper skincy.
Ah, shame. Have a good one, yeah, Chrissy.
Jack floppily shakes Chrissy's hand as Chrissy pulls him into a hug.
Oh, all right, mate.
Jack breaks off the contact and shallowly smiles, only for his face to drop the second he turns away. Chrissy sips his beer, utterly miserable and alone in all regards. To rub salt in his wounds, Jack pinches Sophie's bum and grabs her hand as they head out of the class. They're not going to have all the fun. Chrissy decides it's high time for a sesh of his own, and there's only one way to start, by picking up a strip of Gittor's new 50mg Valium, gear famously dubbed Peng and 10 out of 10, repeatedly among the bombardment of recent flare messages. A 35-minute wait on Brinkhagen Hill somewhat derails his buzz after a 45-minute woodland walk there. Plenty of time, however, to conjure plans of slitting Jack Jones's throat, petrol bombing Lucas's shed, maybe even Sophie's while he's at it. All on the same night if the gear's flowing. Glittery thoughts of upcoming numbness return as Gittor appears in the distance. 3 topless skaters bomb down a steep hill just as Gittor heads up on a brand new electric bike, swerving to avoid him. Gittor throws himself in the last skater's way with anger befitting of his new Grade 1 buzz haircut, sending the lad stumbling off his board, and sticks 2 strips of Valium in Chrissy's left pocket, shaking his head at the tenner held out to him.
They gave me the start in the game I adore. But you're paying for the next ones.
Gittos sternly adds.
Old poodle locks on strike, are they?
Chrissy taps his hair.
Well, here's the thing. I was getting bullied by all them bagheads, mate. Not paying their tick and that. And I weren't allowed to batter them. So I thought, fuck these cunts. Fuck them. We're the only ones about. So don't payday now. For 2 days, I charge them double.
Chrissy grimaces.
Tight that, man. They pay it. Won't be fucking doing that to me. Nah, not to mates, no.
Gitto's phone buzzes. He checks the text, and his empathetic expression slips into a cocky smile in an instant.
Wrong time to be bailing on it all, Chrissy.
During the brisk walk home, Gitto's cutting words whirl through Chrissy's head on repeat out of deep resentment at being deemed a bailer. There's one thing he won't be bailing on, getting absolutely rat-arsed. Not only that, but worming his way back into Squiddy's sketchy little crew.
The latter's not going to be cheap. To stand the slightest chance of winning back their approval, he'd better bring something worthwhile along. Should he rock up empty-handed, it'll be a night of rinsing his gimpy little health streak. Nothing worth his last tenner will cut it. Fueled by the immediate wave of partying racket rattling the house, Chrissy tears down a single-file pile of his cherished classic DVDs, chucking them in a holdall along with his Xbox 360 game collection. Knowing they'll raise only a pittance in CEX, he begrudgingly heads for Sam's room, but can't bring himself to swipe his 8 Xbox One games, instead compromising on Sam's anime DVD collection. With the DVDs netting Chrissy between 1 and 10 pence, only the games bring in marginally more, and without word, Lucas slaps £28.75 and a 3-foot-long receipt down on the counter. After heading home to proudly ask what the boys want, Chrissy heads to Asda and picks up 2-litre-sized bottles of Captain Morgan's spiced rum, delightfully discounted to £18. As he joyously squares back into Mikey's hellhole bedroom, Franny stood up in typical full-flowing, animated fashion as Squiddy and Mikey listen in intently, closely clutching their empty plastic cups.
Never guess where I've been, mate. Never,
Franny forcefully says.
Here he is.
Squiddy cheerfully snatches a bottle.
To Franny's bitter frustration, he snapped out of full storytelling swing. Any anguish is soon drowned out by the eagerly awaited sight of free rum, and he joins Squiddy and Mikey in swamping Chrissy.
Back on it.
Mikey playfully chants as he snatches the other and chugs straight from the bottle.
Thought we'd lost you to the hippies, mate. Fuck sobriety, lad. Anyway, it's that Cody bird, yeah? On Tinder now. She's all over me, man. Within the first fucking 6 messages, Can I bring my dog? My little one? We're coming around for a few days.
Classic Cody, that.
And I'm thinking now, are you even 16? I mean, she looked it. Fucking right she did. So, whatever I said. Why not? And it was a shot well worth taking.
Franny bulges out his light bulb eyes.
Off the scale when she starts trusting you are, Cody.
Squiddy blissfully recalls.
Wild. Beyond fucking rare. Mouth on that bird. All the ID I needed.
Chrissy looks down, already depleted by the company and extravagance of one of Banger's true sexual deviants.
She's definitely 18, you know. Just about. Don't worry.
What I'm saying is, I didn't need anyone to tell me. It was abundantly clear.
Chrissy doesn't last long, and within a few hours, he scuttles off for a chunder to raucous, sarcastic applause and curls up in bed for the night. A 9.5-hour session of thunderous vomiting ensues, with at most 10 minutes in between each chunder. Finally, having gathered the strength to stand and neck a yoghurt by the next evening, Chrissy blows his last few quid in the world on a bus to Dane Yollen. In the months since his last Alcoholics Anonymous session, most local meets have ceased to operate, leaving a 10-mile bus ride as his only option. As is routinely the case with this mountainous village, it's chucking down with rain on arrival at the entrance of the outdated, tacky old community centre. a place you'd easily mistake for a borderline derelict squat without the 7-foot AA sheet sign stuck on the window. Chrissy struggles to take that last step inside as he nervously paces around and bums his penultimate fag's last few tokes. Fighting through the terror, he flicks the fag down a drain and storms in, startling the neatly formed circle and interrupting a share by a ragged, sharply spoken woman, a victim of lifelong violent abuse, withered beyond her years with a face stacked full of injury-inflicted metal plates. She soon carries on as Chrissy takes a seat by her side. Only minutes in, and Chrissy's ruining his life choices. The woman's stale stench only adds to his urge to throw up. After 15 minutes, she finally concludes her share and turns to Chrissy.
I'm Chrissy. Chrissy Bray. Just don't want to hurt people anymore. I well and truly have. More than I ever really deserve forgiveness for. My little brother, more than most. Boy's already in juvie, at 12. First 3 cautions he got. Absolute joke shop. Got it right in for him. Pathetic fucking coppers have. All 'cause of me. Not even I had that growing up. Not an excuse I can use. My gift to him. And then beyond that, my influence and addiction has even cost a life. And without doubt, ruined several more. Since I realised this and tried to manage the descent into oblivion, I've discovered I can actually contribute to society. I feel more useful. For the first time ever. And not that fake usefulness felt from punters you serve up at unsociable hours, or for letting cunts party in your house 8th day in a row. Nah. Real usefulness. That there might just be a path for me. Got my first 2 jobs over the last few months. Legal ones anyway. And beyond my wildest dreams, now that I've passed college, even if I only make it a month there, I can say for the rest of my life, I somehow made it into university. Thanks. Cheers. Yeah, only psychology at Bangor. Not scurrying off all that far yet.
He legs it out, and despite a wave of concerned murmurs, nobody follows him as they quickly move on to the next share. To save an absolute soaking, the night's penultimate bus is luckily minutes away, saving an agonising 2.5-hour wait for the last at 11:30 p.m. A rustle through his filthy, tobacco crumb-ridden pockets confirmed Chrissy's worst nightmare. He's lost the ticket. Left torchless, with a dead phone battery, trekking the 7-mile shortcut down an unlit cycle path and back road would be a death trap, leaving no choice but the rough, 10-mile route down the side of a sketchy 60-mile-an-hour limit main road. There's no chance he's making that without a thirst quencher first, but strapped for booze money, he faces the riskiest shoplifting excursion of his life. Daniel End's sole shot, the only one for the walk's opening 6 miles suitable for robbing, is a tight little place, and the timing will have to be spot on. By miracle, Maldwings is out the back, miserably failing in his efforts to chirps a beautiful local half his age. With old Malds not one to give up easily, Chrissy's afforded time to sneak behind the counter and swipe a bottle of rum. A rumble of manic energy powers Chrissy through the first couple of miles. A series of slips on the boggy, roadside grass prove his main peril, with the worst sending him skidding in a hurtling tractor's direction as it whizzed perilously close to the curb, only missing Chrissy by a foot and resulting in some rum spillage. By mile 3, rains drenched through his entire 3-layer outfit, adding a shivery drag to the walk, and with half the rum already necked, the Trek's jet fuel looks in short supply. Chrissy passes an old dark blue Vauxhall Astra estate parked on a slant in the roadside turf, and his eyes flare up. Having lost the bottle's lid, he places the rum down carefully on a groove in the turf, as to avoid further spillage. Void of driving experience, he harbours no desire to steal the thing. But a gander seems irresistible, as a foot-long rock on the floor stares him square in the face. After brushing aside some of the lingering glass, a hole wide enough to squeeze through presents itself, and Chrissy lowers himself in. Miraculously, the retro steering wheel strapped car alarm doesn't whirl one bit. Fiercely grateful for respite from the rain, Chrissy sweeps shattered glass off the seat and perches himself down for a breather, before curiosity takes over. What a good job it did,
as he uncovers no less than a sleeve of camel fags in the glove compartment.
With the buzz of his find curing any need for rest,
he leaps straight out and squares off on his merry way with the rum and fags. All that vigour's long chipped away by the trek's end. A pulled calf and a rumless last 3 miles ensure he stumbles back to Bangor High Street. The drowned, dreary rat he knows he is. Only the entrepreneurial flair of quick-save, night-hatch stalwart Sean, swapping 4 packets of fags for a bottle of rum, allows Chrissy to keep the sesh going. While this takes care of booze, Squiddy won't settle for less than 5 packets of fags for half a gram of his worst bash cocaine. Chrissy reluctantly accepts, leaving him a meagre half packet of Camels.
Seemingly, a 700ml bottle of rum gets him nowhere near the minimum entry for inclusion. So it's Sam's room for another hazy night alone. To his joy, Gitto's holy Valium gift sits pretty on the bed. 1,000 milligrams worth of company, miraculously untouched after last night's queasy debacle. A sight that dresses his abandonment trauma-shaped wound in an instant. Minor flittering concerns about mixing them with alcohol soon vanish, and he gets started by throwing on a new metal YouTube mix while washing 3 Valium down his trap with a chug of rum. While the gear's devoured within a few hours, even after a strict, self-inflicted line-an-hour policy,
his loopy mind remains as manic as ever.
Aided by the Valium's soothing wobble, Chrissy's never found raving to 4Music's charty, early morning playlist easier, keeping him firmly on foot for hours after the last line. Inevitably, this doesn't last, and as dawn approaches and the rum dries up, Chrissy can't take the sprawling thoughts of guilt billowing around his scattered mind. Bitter regret about the AA share dominates, as he painfully wishes to have kept all locked away forever. Life was easier then, and no amount of rum can drown that out, or take him back to a time when feeling superior to all fueled his drive. It simply can't get better. He shatters the bottle of rum and next 4 Valium. Only stinging froth whirling through his stomach somewhat subconsciously subdues his desire to swallow the last 3. Seeking a quick buzz and distraction from the stomach pain, he scrapes out the remaining microparticles of cocaine from the torn-up open bag and dabs them into his gum. Now fearing a rough 20 minutes or so before the Valium hopefully renders him unconscious, Chrissy curls up in a fetal position and sobs uncontrollably. Gitto strolls down the stairs, ready for an early night, painfully pulling himself away from an all-nighter with Squiddy and Mikey to ensure he's fresh for one of the year's most profitable days, that of most university students flocking back after their Easter holidays. Before leaving, he makes sure to carefully count Franny's £80 for Valium, knowing the cheeky prick will gladly shortchange him. This corridor hesitancy means he hears Chrissy's wailing and grunting. He smirks and heads out, dialling Skillin's number on the way and leaving the front door marginally open.
Jezza Kyle's on, lad,
Gitto gleefully announces.
Good one, or what?
Mate, top-rated episode. Wish I were there live.
Gitto hangs up and waddles off into the classic dour grey Gwynedd mist. Those are all the words Skillin needed to prise himself up and fetch his phone to HDMI cable. A top-rated episode is code for one worth watching live on telly. Skillin's careful in his setup, with their cracked box TV precariously balanced on top of an upside-down trolley basket. Slouched back in his recently acquired, tatty green armchair, in his favourite Calvin Klein pyjamas, and munching a bowl of Morrison's finest granola. Chin eagerly awaits the action.
HDMI 3, mate.
I'm doing it!
The rest are fucked.
Their screen flickers before the image becomes crystal clear. That of Chrissy hanging from a neck noose, with rope tied to his roof.
Swinging his arms around, clearly regretting his decision.
Chin furiously lobs the bowl at the TV, knocking it over as he storms out with the car keys.
Get over there. That'll be all fun.
Skillin pockets a small shiny blade and sprints for his life down the few hundred metres to Chrissy's house, arriving in the nick of time. Chrissy pants hoarsely, having lost any strength to fight as Skillin jumps up on the desk, reaches over and slices the rope, sending Chrissy flopping onto the floor. Skillin pulls Chrissy up to his feet, sticks him on his shoulder and carries the lump out while Chin whacks open the car boot.
What?
Going hospital we are. Don't worry.
Which one? Tell my mum.
Skillin carelessly launches Chrissy into the boot, and without time or awareness to cushion his fall, Chrissy flies straight into the corner of the window, rattling his temple and losing consciousness. Not willing to take any chances, Skillin cable ties his hands. When Chrissy's eyes eventually flitter open, in what could be, for all he knows, hours later, he's met with the sight of a miniature puddle of his own blood. Grasping the situation's severity, he keeps still, despite jolting neck pain. By this point, all he can see is the woods. Hundreds of lopsided trees, barely standing after the last few horrific months of torrential wind.
What if it's Lake District?
No way's Squiddy coming out there. After recognising Chin's dour face, Chrissy knows he's done for. While on the phone with Connor, Skillin grows increasingly animated.
No, we're going to Jezekyle Studio 3. I know, we've fucking been here, researching a few fucking months now, and I'm telling you, more racers go Studio 2 3 times a week, and Studio 1 is a fucking primo dogging spot, and I do know that for a fact. No, we couldn't wait. You were trying to move network permanently. We're pretty fucking close to making the deal. Not our deal, no, but it is what it is. Miracle we get back of the cherry at all, really. Right, we're only waiting 2-3 hours for you.
Where are you taking me?
Chrissy mumbles while cowering in the corner.
Skill.
Skillin rips off his seatbelt and climbs into the back as Chrissy flicks out a kick that's slickly bobbed. Skillin manoeuvres around Chrissy's side, leans on his legs and lands hammer fist punches until Chrissy's sparked out cold. Skillin grabs out a pre-prepared morphine syringe and pricks the gear into a vein in Chrissy's hand. Chrissy wakes up some hours later in Llanefydd Woods, fully tied up and lying on his back as Skillin pours sulfuric acid over his big toenail. Chrissy squeals like a little rat, a ghastly sound made the slightest bit bearable to Chin, Skillin and Connor by the second-hand handkerchief stuffed in Chrissy's mouth. This isn't just any handkerchief, but one Connor's used daily for a year and saved for this very moment. He squats down in view of Chrissy and grins.
You were being rude. Why am I here? How the fuck did you know what I was doing?
Many things you've been doing of late.
Been watching you a while, lad.
Connor pulls out a pair of pliers and sharpens them on a tree trunk.
Even got a chase for that bird of yours. So fair. Monkey leg. Hideous fucking thing, but saw her with you on a little camera in your room, and I thought...
Skillin takes a breath while blissfully closing his eyes.
I've just got to have a bit of that. So I found her, and we all had a go.
Connor and Chin beam a seedy little smirk as Skillin bends down and stares Chrissy square in the eye.
Didn't stay with you long after, did she?
Connor pulls out a childhood family photo, one of Sam in an oversized red football shirt alongside a teenage Connor, and both Chin and Skillin as toddlers. Chrissy's face drops, and any far-fetched hope that Squiddy, Ben or anyone's dashing to his rescue floats away.
Now, we know most of what happened, but just out of curiosity, did you keep him up days on end so he'd get on your gear? Made his own choice to get on it.
Connor shakes his head, walks behind Chrissy and throttles him.
He weren't like that, see? The overdosing type, and all that comes with it. Had some help, didn't he?
Connor viciously says in Chrissy's ear before letting go.
Didn't do nothing to him, I swear. Right.
Connor reaches for the pliers.
Skill.
Skilling holds Chrissy's whimpering, flailing head still as Connor yanks open his jaw and effortlessly cranks out a bottom tooth. Chrissy screams, spluttering out a river of blood dribbling steadily down his jaw.
Sure about that? Just wanted a new friend, really, didn't you? Weren't sure he'd accept you for who you are, and to bring him down to your level.
Chrissy pants, desperate to answer but unable to spit out his words.
Connor sighs, grabs the bloody pliers and holds them near Chrissy's mouth, whose voice breaks such as the freakishly high pitch of his screech.
Didn't think we'd be coming, did you? Thought he were easy to fuck with. Now, no fibbies. Kind of lad, were he?
Connor pulls the pliers away from Chrissy's face.
Nice. Considerate.
Connor shakes his head and nods to Skilling.
He once again dutifully grabs Chrissy's flailing head.
Not the time to be licking arse. All right.
Connor kneels down and ferociously rips out a front tooth.
What kind of lad were he?
He mumbles. Connor mockingly imitates Chrissy's stutter.
Skilling grabs a 2-litre bottle of water and tips it into Chrissy's mouth to clear his throat.
Square. No fucking style.
Connor chuckles and gazes up at his cousins before throttling Chrissy from behind.
Course you were a fucking square. Saw it a mile off, didn't you? And yeah, he were nice and considerate, with his money at least.
He lets go of Chrissy.
Should have helped him score a bird instead, mate.
Skilling perches down to Chrissy with the pliers in hand.
Think he liked me enough? 3-4 days straight? While he was trying to do something with his life? Bit like we let you have a taste of. College, a nice bird, chance of progressing your pathetic little existence.
Connor tightly grasps Chrissy's head with his mammoth hands.
Fucked with the wrong square.
Skilling rips out a bottom tooth as Chrissy half-heartedly wails with what little fight he has left.
Your turn.
Skilling takes on the role of throttler as Connor watches Chrissy's eyes intently throughout, and as soon as he detects Chrissy losing consciousness, he points at Skilling, who then lets go. Chrissy gasps for air as Connor reaches for the pliers.
Nah, fuck that. Be over too soon.
Connor nods and drops the pliers, leaving Skilling once again to throttle while Connor watches Chrissy's eyes. On Connor's signal, Skilling once again lets him go. And both, thriving within the brutality, gaze menacingly into each other's eyes.
You both are ill.
Unable to take another second, Chin fastens a pre-tied rope noose dangling down from a tree to Chrissy's neck, furiously heaving on it until their subject's hanging off the floor. 30 seconds is all it takes, knocking Chrissy Bray well out of his misery for good. Be careful who you keep up at night.
The end.